Okay, so I think we begin here. Welcome everybody. This is the second day of the Great Discourse. The Great Discourse is an initiative that was built to increase access to resources, to networks, and of course to knowledge that will help lawyers advance their careers, whether within the law or even if they want to move out, we want to create as much resources as we can for them. Now, as I said, the great discourse, as I said yesterday, started from a conversation that a femina made a tweet, and I said it right, but a tweet, and he tagged me to the tweet. He said he wanted to do something for young lawyers to be able to start 2021 on a good note. So I reached out to the smartest person I know, Bolaji. I say, Bolaji, this is what we're planning to do, and what do you think? And of course, this is the result. When you bring people like Bolaji and Vincent Okonkwo together, their brains are good enough. I think they should be running Nigeria, but we'll decide that on a later date. Anyways, they put together this, and the name is chosen Gray Discourse. Gray was chosen because it's between black and white. It's to give context, to give some background. So we're having honest, open conversations. Those conversations, I know you can write all these highfalutin things on your profile and on your LinkedIn. You can always be excited there. Here, you're going to be honest. You're going to be down to earth. You're going to be open. And as much as possible, you're going to be as vulnerable as you can. We are all lawyers or law students. We're trying to learn. We understand the reality of practicing law and reading law in Nigeria. We understand the limitations that we face as Nigerians that are reading law. We want to build a platform for people to be able to break out of those limitations, or at least provide them with the resources, with the networks, with the knowledge base that they need to advance themselves. Mostly because they want to earn more, they want to gain more career advancement, or they want to improve themselves and provide for their families. And I think that is why we're all here. Yesterday, the conversation was very interesting. I'm sure that everybody that was around will testify to that. We started yesterday with a conversation on legal ethics. It was tagged the position of lawyers in society today. And so we had people like the winner of the 2020 Lawyer of the Year award from the Future Awards. That's Georgette Monu. She was here. And Efemina Iloezi Ogbaudu, he's associate at Strachan Partners. He was there as well. And then Tobina Igwonu is associate at Alukwano Yebode. Their first conversation was moderated by the MBA Young Lawyers Forum chairman, that's Tobi Adebowale, and it was very interesting. Our second session yesterday covered tips to move in-house, how to move in-house, and skills to learn, networks to build, all of that, how to move in-house, how to be an in-house lawyer, the rule of an in-house lawyer, in case that is what you want to do. We had Tena Sami. He has a lot of years of experience in the oil and gas industry. And we also had Lola Salami. She's in-house counsel at GTB. Our final session covered work-life balance, managing burnout, preventing burnout, and more productivity, all of that. And we had associates at Alukwano Ibodi, that is Chidi Odoemenam. And also, we had Faith Izomimi. I pronounced the name well, yes. She is associate at Bangwani Godalu, and I think we had an interesting conversation. And I also learned yesterday that if you want to club in Lagos, you should not go to Cubana, you should not go to Quilox. That is where non-professional people go to club. If you are a professional and you want to club in Lagos, you should probably go to Velvet. That's Chidi sharing wisdom of clubbing. Anyways, today we have interesting sessions lined up. I think first we want to talk about masters, how to do a masters, how to choose the masters that you want to do. You want to choose whether you want to do an LLM, whether you need an LLM, and the purposes for which you choose a master. So for that panel, we have the likes of Pearl Mwezigwe. Pearl Mwezigwe finished at UC Berkeley. And we have Damilola Wright. I think he's on. He has a master's from Harvard. And also we have Tammy Koroye. That's the first session for today. We have 3 other sessions. We have one session covering leaving the law. That is for people that want to take professions outside the law. We also want to look at the skills that you need to learn, the networks that you need to build, and how to bridge that gap and move to the profession of your choosing. We also have a session on private practice. That is, even if you're in a firm, how to run your personal briefs, and also how to move out on your own and build a firm of your own, a partnership, an associateship, a sole proprietorship, anyhow. And we have finally a session on emigrating for lawyers. As lawyers, we understand the peculiarities of leaving the country and how your certificate and your learning is usually geographically bound. So we're looking at ways that people can learn to move across Nigeria and still not become cab drivers. Not that there's anything against cab drivers, anyways. But yes, we're looking at emigrating, specially tailored for lawyers. Now, I'll urge you to, well, I think we'll keep the same housekeeping rules that we had the last time. So that means, please, if you discover that your mic is unmuted, a woman is Zeno, that's Zeno. She's in charge of our Zoom. So, but if you discover that your mic is unmuted, please do not interrupt the sessions with your questions. If you have questions, please put them in the chat rooms. As much as possible, we will get to as many questions as we can get to. I will ask you again, if you are putting questions on the chat room, keep it as decent as possible. Yesterday, we had to throw out a number of people. I'm being honest now, I'm being open. We had to throw out a number of people because they kept posting indecent chats in the chat rooms. So as much as possible, let's keep it clean, let's keep it decent. And yes, I think that's about it. So I'll introduce the moderators for today. For the first session, we have, as I said before, we have Pearl Mwezigwe. She's going to be, these are the panelists. She is policy manager for Africa at TikTok, and she finished at UC Berkeley. We're going to be talking about masters and all the questions that surround masters, whether you should do a masters or not. So Pearl will be on that panel. There is also Damilola Wright. He's associate at Bango and Igodalu, and he finished a master's at Harvard. We also have Tammy Koroye. He's a PhD candidate at Bradford University. That session will be moderated by one of the moderators for today. We have two moderators. One of them is Ilamosi. Hello. She's going to be in charge of this session. And after that, Isaac Sampson Grace will come up. Hello, Ilamosi, how are you? Can you hear me? Hello. Is Ilamosi here? Oh my God. It doesn't look like she's here.
She's here now.
Oh, she's here?
Yes.
Okay. So
hi, Ilamosi.
Hi, let me just adjust my camera. What I was doing that time was fine. Hi. So how is my video? How is my audio?
I think you're good.
Sorry?
I think you're good. I think you're good.
Okay. Okay.
Welcome. You're in charge of this session, and I trust that we will have a great session.
Yeah.
And handing over to you.
Okay. Okay. Zikora, aren't you supposed to do a proper introduction? Or
Oh, I think I've introduced all the guests, and I've also introduced you as well. So I think you're good.
Okay, so let's start. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ilamosi Ikenimo, and welcome to day 2 of the Great Discourse series. Today, we're going to be discussing for the next 40 minutes, masters or no masters. So we're going to be discussing whether or not it would be advisable for young lawyers to do masters or not. So for today's session, I have with me, and Sikora has told me that he has introduced them already. So I guess we can just start with questions. Yes? Is that fine, panelists?
Hi, Ilamosi, that's fine. This is Damilola.
Hi, Dami. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Where's everyone else? Pearl?
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Tammy.
Yeah, hi, Tammy. And Pearl.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you all for attending. And
Okay.
yeah,
So to start off, and just so that everyone who doesn't already know you can get very acquainted with you, just could you tell us, that's every single person, I'll go one by one, and I'll start with Dami. Could you tell us what you mastered in and what inspired you to do your masters, and whether you're still in the program or you're done?
Hello, everyone. My name is Damilola Wright. I did a master's at Harvard Law, focused on corporate law. What inspired me to go for my master's? I think primarily it was really the institution itself. I had always wanted to go to Harvard, and I felt that going to Harvard was going to be a great opportunity for me to challenge my thinking, to boost my professional profile, to expand my professional network, and also just improve the quality of my life experiences in general. So that was why I went for my master's.
Okay, Tammy.
And I'm done with my master's program.
Thank you. Tammy.
Hello everyone. So I did my master's at the University of Bradford. I studied international commercial law, and the reason why I was interested in, or why I went for international commercial law, was because I realized that human rights don't really give you money. So okay, yeah, sure. This is the best profitable option.
Yeah.
So commercial law, and also like Damilola said, to boost my corporate standing in life. And I have like some ideas, and human rights couldn't have taken it far, I guess. So, yeah, that's mainly the reason why. And yeah, I'm done with my master's.
Okay. Okay. So we'll get into that or into more detail on that later. But let me allow Pearl to do her introduction. Pearl.
hello, everyone. I just first wanted to mention that Zikora is one of the very few people who got my surname pronounced right. Other people have a very hard time pronouncing my surname. So thank you so much, Zikora, for that. I studied at UC Berkeley Law, and that is in California, United States. I studied international law and international human rights. So unlike Tammy, who's giving human rights a bad name, I'm still very much interested in human rights, and that was how I was able to get this job at TikTok. I would say I decided to study at Berkeley because Berkeley is such a known school for civil liberties. A lot of like human rights work has been done there. Fun fact, Martin Luther King has actually had a speech at UC Berkeley Steps. So the school is actually really known for human rights work. So that's one of the reasons why I joined or I applied to the school. And also just the idea that like UC Berkeley is also situated in the Silicon Valley, which is something I would definitely speak more into. So it was really exciting to see that intersection of technology and human rights happen at UC Berkeley. And yeah, like UC Berkeley is a great school. So in terms of like, after Harvard, like Dami has been to this Stanford and this UC Berkeley. So it was a really good standing to be on. So yeah, and I'm done with my master's, and I'm really excited to share all the opportunities and all the experiences that I had during that period. Thank you.
Ilamosi, where are you?
Probably her internet.
These things happen. Oh God.
Zikora, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, can one,
Hi. What is happening?
Ilamosi is not back, but can one of the speakers just tell us like maybe a distinct experience that they had while they were doing their master's program, something that stood out while we wait for her? I don't know. Or you want
Pearl.
Okay, Pearl, you're up.
Oh my days. I mean, I've had a lot of experience. Okay, so I would say that, like as I mentioned, that I was very interested in human rights. And fun facts, how do I put it? I wanted to work at the UN. So a lot of people who know me, I think probably Dami knows, because like we're moved together. I've always wanted to work at the UN. Everybody to call me Secretary General. So that was actually my initial aim, to work at the UN and like or do something UN related. I was still doing lots of like model UN. But then I don't know, I just saw this, like, you know, I just see all these posters in the hallway saying, oh, during this research project, it was like pretty vague on artificial intelligence and children's rights. So I was just intrigued by the whole idea. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is about, but let me just see what it is. So I signed up for the research, and then I got into the research class. And then, you know, months down the line, I realized that this project was actually being founded by UNICEF, Microsoft, the World Economic Forum. So what ended up happening was that I had the opportunity to present at the World Economic Forum, and like literally I was one of the youngest people in attendance. Like they were just like vice presidents of tech companies, from Microsoft to Google, from Salesforce. And there I was like presenting my research to these people. So I always go back to that story, because that was literally what like my pivot was into tech policy, because like that research flyer on the wall was what got me to this like whole space of tech policy, and eventually got me to this job. So yeah, like, you know, if I wasn't inquisitive, I don't know, I wouldn't have done that research and, you know, started this whole journey here.
Okay, thank you very much. So Dami, I think the next question will be for you. What made you choose, of all things, why did you choose to do an LLM? There were a lot of, you could have done an MBA, you could have done, say, an MBA or something like that. Why did you choose to do an MBA, an LLM, sorry?
Why did I choose to do an LLM? I think, first of all, I'm very committed to actually being a lawyer, right? And I felt that doing an MBA, even though I considered it, doing an MBA, I didn't think that that was the right time to go for an MBA. Typically for lawyers, if you're a lawyer trying to transition into business, you're looking at more like middle management, senior management. That's when you typically want to do an MBA. And so I just thought, you know, for the state that I was, I think I'd worked for about 3 years then. I said, you know what, I want to go to a great school and basically leverage all of the knowledge and experiences that I had, you know, garnered just working in Nigeria. And so that was why I chose to do the LLM program. Also with the MBA, you realize that there's actually it's a lot harder actually to get into the MBA program at any of these great schools. You know, you have to do things like the GMAT, the GRE, and I just wasn't in that headspace to go through that stress. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go the, in quotes, easier route, and then do the LLM first, and then maybe later on do the MBA.
So why did you do an LLM? Wouldn't you have done a JD? Wouldn't that have been better for you?
Okay, that's a good question, actually. So typically, when I was leaving Nigeria to go for my master's, the truth is I actually wanted to come back to Nigeria. A lot of people were like, what? Why would you want to come back to Nigeria? You know, but I really did want to come back to Nigeria. And the reason why was because I genuinely felt that there was more work to be done in Nigeria than abroad. And I really felt that I also felt like I would have the most impact doing work in Nigeria than doing work in the US. And so that was the first reason why I thought an LLM program was better. The second reason why I thought the LLM was preferred to the JD is because the JD is actually more expensive. So imagine that the LLM cost me $68,000 for just 1 year, and that's just your tuition. Multiply that by 3, you know, and that's minus living costs. So that's a lot of debt that you're taking on if you don't get a scholarship. And I just thought to myself, okay, there's no guarantees that even if you do the JD, you're going to get a job afterwards. So all of that, taking on all that debt, you might just end up coming back to Nigeria, earning Naira and servicing a huge dollar loan. So it just didn't make practical sense for me to do it. And then thirdly, the US market in general, I don't know that is favorable to African lawyers. And so I just thought, you know what, I'd rather just get the degree, get the Harvard name on my profile, and then come back and leverage that degree in Nigeria. So those were the reasons why I did the
name is very important, yeah?
Yes.
Well, for me, the name was very, very important because, you know, a lot of people say, should I do a master's? And I say a master's is not necessary. That's the truth. To be a better lawyer, you don't need to do a master's degree. Yeah. I think what's important is you have a commitment to lifelong learning and to constantly improving your knowledge. That's what makes you a great lawyer. But if you want to go for a master's degree, then there are other things you need to begin to consider. Okay, why am I doing for the master's? Is it because I love this institution so much? Is it because I'm looking to get into the job market there? Is it because I want to do a PhD afterwards? So you really need to question why exactly you're going for the master's. For me, Harvard was like on my, like all the dreams I had as a child, they were everywhere. So it was kind of like, you know what, this is why I want to go to Harvard. And then I just liked what the institution represented, the excellence that the institution represented. I just felt like it was just going to cement, you know, the things I already thought about myself before going for the program. So yeah, that was it for me.
Before I move to Pearl, I have one question for Pearl. Let's come back. Was it worth it when you came back? Did it meet your expectations? The Harvard name on your CV?
Oh my God, yes. I say that going to a great school, there are so many tangible and intangible benefits with going to a great school.
Yeah.
But more than that, being a great lawyer, there are so many intangible and intangible benefits to being a great lawyer. And so I will start by, it's not so much about the school, it's about the person. So for me, the reason why I was able to, leverage my Harvard degree was because I believe that I was already doing great work where I was at. And Harvard was almost like the cherry on top, So being able to go to Harvard and come back, I knew that I won't have a problem finding a job or asking for a promotion or getting more money because they had already seen the potential before I left. So I don't think going to a great school makes you a great lawyer. I think you're already great, and then the school just the cherry on top of that.
Okay, just hold this thought. I will come back to you. This conversation will continue. So, sorry, Pearl. Small question. You were saying something about the name of the school. Did the name of the school play any advantage for you?
Yes, just like what Dami said, like having UC Berkeley or just like going to events, especially because like in the Silicon Valley, the two great schools were UC Berkeley and Stanford. Like Stanford was literally the neighboring school. So like just mentioning that you're from UC Berkeley, like everybody just automatically thinks that you're smart. And if you say UC Berkeley law, it's like, oh my God. So it was just very exciting to have that. But as Dami also said, it doesn't make you great. Like I personally knew that I was a very smart lawyer going in. So even just like getting admission was proof to that fact that I'm smart. So yeah, like I'm really excited to have finished and said, okay, yeah, I went to UC Berkeley and I did that. So the name really goes far. I think that's one of the reasons why I did the master's, like not necessarily for the education, because looking back, like all the courses that I took didn't necessarily get me this job, if that makes sense. It was just the experience and just basically hustling, because a lot of people don't have that hustle spirit to like say, okay, I'm in a new country and this is what I'm going to do to get to the next point. People just think it's the master's that gets you there, but it's actually the hustle. So people don't know how to use that hustle well.
Okay, so why did you do, are your reasons different for doing an LLM instead of say a JD, for example?
Well,
or an MBA? Did you think of it?
Yeah, that's a good question, but I'm going to just add to what Dami said. The truth is, like, because most people who do LLM, the similarity between JD is that JD is literally the same thing as kind of the same thing as LLB, and then you can write the bar with the LLM. So it's like when you look at it from that point of view, it's like, okay, so why do I need to do a JD if an LLM can also grant me the ability to take the bar, like the California bar, the New York bar? So it doesn't really make sense, like, in the long run to do a JD when you that's spending lots of money. So that was like my mindset going in, like, okay, I wanted to actually take the bar, or I thought of taking the bar. Like I hadn't fully thought of it through. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take the bar. And then LLM also gives you more room, because JD, because I've actually attended some courses, it's just like constitutional law, admin law. You're not going to take in-depth courses in JD, but LLM gives you more room to explore more. So I was like, okay, well, I wanted to explore more. And so I took the LLM. And MBA,
okay.
I don't have any intention of doing an MBA. I just didn't.
Okay, no problem. So Tammy, I think the next question will be for you. You're the only person that you don't have an American LLM. Your LLM was not gotten. It was not gotten.
It's British, innit?
It's British. Anyway, Tammy, are there advantages? Because that's what I want to look at now. Are there advantages for you going to the UK? Do you sometimes think of, oh, I could have gone to the US? Or do you think that the UK had advantages that you have that people that went to the US do not have?
Okay, first of all, like you said, you should be totally sincere. So I'm going to be sincere. I have a general prejudice against the US. Okay. Number one. So all this thing manifesting, I'm like, yes, keep it up, Trump, keep it up. So I have a general prejudice against, so US wasn't really an option
Okay.
It was an option, but it wasn't really something I considered because yes. Secondly, the reason why the UK was more favorable to me was because, like Dami, I plan on coming back, so I needed something I was familiar with.
Wait,
The laws.
sorry.
Yeah.
What's with coming back? Because there's a lot of context I'm not getting with all these people's coming
Yeah,
back.
because like Dami said, there are more opportunities back home than there. Like it's for real. Especially if you have an idea you want to implement. So something I've recognized is in Nigeria, they recognize your foreign experience more than your native experience. So if you have like foreign experience and like ideas and the backing, your limits are very few. So like I said, the UK have similar system with Nigeria, and it's quite easier for me to just transform to become a solicitor here. It's just for me to take an exam, at least for now, until they change it later. They say, take a conversion exam, become a solicitor here, and it's just a lot less stress. Let me put it that way. Cheaper too in the UK.
Cheaper too. Okay, so I think Ilamosi is back. Ilamosi, I think you should take one question. Ilamosi, you have a question?
Hi. Sorry, my network just messed up. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I have a question. So I should just continue down the question line, or how are we doing it?
Probably take a question and then I will come back again. Oh God, your network is too mad.
Okay. Yes, honestly, I don't know what's happening this afternoon, but anyway. So I wanted to ask, is there any real competitive benefit? And I don't know if Discourse has asked this because I was thrown out. So is there any real, and this is for Tammy particularly, is there any real competitive benefits from obtaining a PhD? Is there any commercial benefits that it provides in the real world? Or is it just an academic pursuit for people that might be interested in pursuing that?
Having a PhD generally, I have to state this categorically, having a PhD generally is for people who are meant to go to academics. Being a corporate person, you have no business, unless you want to relocate, you have no business going for a PhD. None at all. The only reason why I'm doing this is because I have a theory in my head I'm trying to pursue. That is the only reason why. And a master's...
What's the theory?
That's my research thesis, isn't it? It's basically... So with AFTA, we are going to have like a singular continental market here. Okay. And one of the fallout points of AFTA is having a singular continental currency. I am trying to see how we can develop a regulatory model between the African Continental Bank and central banks of various nations and the commercial banks to have a retail and not so retail digital currency, a singular digital currency. So that is like, imagine the euro, but in cryptocurrency form. So, and CBDCs are, that's the central bank
Europe and Africa
digital currencies. No, for just Africa. CBDCs are a very new concept. So even the EU, they are trying to see how they can understudy it to try and make it work for their system. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to develop, okay, this is the system we're going to have for the African Union. This is how the African Central Bank is going to relate with the central banks of the various countries. And this is how the currency, this is who is going to create the currency. This is who is going to manage the currency. This is how the currency is going to be used for trade. So I'm going to use the EU monetary policy system and the Facebook Libra monetary policy system. So basically that's the research I'm trying to make. So, and that's because of my own innate interests. Yeah, it's not because of academics. I really do not like academics. But so having a PhD is for people that plan to go into academics. Please do not follow me. I am lost. Do not follow me. I'm telling you. Thank you. So competitive advantage, not really, especially if you're going into the commercial aspects, not really at all. You're just going to, unless, like I said, you want to relocate. adding to your years, but that's it.
I
Or
think
if you have an idea that you want to incorporate and a research you want to develop, then you can go for your PhD. Besides that,
Okay, that's a good answer. Pearl, I think you wanted to say something.
Did I?
no, I actually wanted to say something. This is Dami. So I'm just going to say
Okay,
that
Dami.
even though I agree with what Tammy says, yes, I think it's also reiterate the fact that there are certain jobs that you can't get unless you have a PhD, actually. And I don't know whether people know this, but for instance, there are certain World Bank jobs that you just cannot access if you don't have a PhD. And that's because, for instance, the World Bank is very particular on people who are who have developed some kind of theory to fix a development problem. And so they want to see extended study over a long period of time. And so there's also that benefit that you might not get because you don't have a PhD, just to add that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think even the African Development Bank has policy. So, yeah.
So, sorry.
Am I taking another question, Zikora?
Sorry, I think I'll take one question. I want to ask a big question. I think it's hanging over everybody's head. Funding. You are calling a lot of big money. And how exactly did you come about this money? Have you seen that video? How on are they make this money? You talk to me. Then I say person. So that's my next question. And I'm targeting first Pearl. Pearl, you tell us how you funded your LLM. Then maybe Dami and then Tammy will tell us how we came about money.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zikora. I think that's I think that's the overarching question that everybody asks. For me personally, like, since this is an open space, like, I would recognize my privilege in this situation, and I would say that my family funded my master's at UC Berkeley. And so that's why I use, like, I'm always very keen to say the word, like, recognize your privilege. Like, if I had gone there with the idea of like, oh, I am comfortable and I'm doing great, like, that would have just made me very complacent at UC Berkeley. But I also recognize that my privilege, a lot of people don't have this opportunity to say that their parents are able to support them. And so I had that hustle drive needlessly to go into UC Berkeley and get what I needed and to be who I am right now. So I don't like to say, oh, I'm always very uncomfortable saying it, but like, I always say to the caveat that I represent privilege every single day. And in every points, I try to represent that I can. So yeah, that was how I did my funding. I had my parents backing me.
Damilola, how do you do your funding? Oh God.
Okay. Okay. So I would also say that I was very blessed. I got a full tuition scholarship to go to Harvard, actually. And so
from the school?
Yeah, from Harvard itself. So I got a full scholarship, and that was how I was able to study at Harvard. To be honest, I remember when the Harvard admission came out, I showed this to my mom. I was like, oh, my mom, I just got into Harvard. And then my mom was like, oh, fantastic. How much is it? I said, and I thought it was $68,000. I was like, because that's about 35 million naira, a lot of money. And she said, you know what? Okay, let's just take it one step at a time. Let's wait for the scholarship decisions to come out. And I was very lucky to receive a full tuition scholarship. That's the only way I could have gone to Harvard. So, yes, that was how it happened for me.
Okay, so sorry, the next question. You had to apply differently for the scholarship because a lot of people are interested in this Harvard Jesus.
Yes. So exactly. So I had to apply differently for the Harvard scholarship. And I must say that Harvard in general is pretty generous. I think the most difficult thing with Harvard is getting in. Once you get into Harvard, funding is not as big a deal as with other schools because Harvard simply tries to make sure that all their best people come in. So they might give you a part scholarship with loans, but they always try to make sure that as many people come into the school so that funding is not an issue. So the most important bit is really just getting into the school. Once you get in, funding becomes less of an issue.
So what did you do that sets you apart? Like, we're trying to be as honest as possible because it's very beautiful that you went to Harvard, but I think that the purpose of this conversation is that more people come into getting to Harvard and everything. Everybody's shouting hi to you in Jesus' name. So hi, Daniel, in Jesus' name. 4 people have sent that message, so you should check it out.
Okay. I think to be as honest as possible, one of the things that really helped me was, I think I spent a lot of time being strategic about my essays, my people that were writing recommendation letters for me, all of those different things. I was very, very strategic about all those different elements. What I find with a lot of people is, I remember right after I finished from Unilag, there was pressure from law school. When are you going for your master's? Everybody was like, a master's, 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 master's. And I said to myself, I said, you know what, if I want to go for a master's, I want to go to a great school. And that takes time, and that takes planning. And so I said, I want to work for 3 years. I want to work with great people who are able to, so that when they give me a recommendation letter, it carries weight, and mindful that I didn't finish from Unilag or law school with a first class as well. I finished with 2-1s both ways. And I knew that to get into a school like Harvard, I'll have to put in a lot more work to get in, and so that meant, okay, beyond the different things I had done in uni, how do I make sure that with my career, I'm distinguishing myself, So I took time to spending a lot of time on my essays. You guys, you don't know how much time I spent on just writing my essays, deciding what topic to write on, and also making it a personal statement. When people say write a personal statement, they make it very, oh, I want this award, I want that award, but make it personal so that the person that is reading your essay sees you and says, oh, I want this person to come in. Like, they see the person, they don't just see the grades. And so that's what I try to do with my essays. After beating that hurdle, you now write a separate application for financial need. But the reality is the decision to fund you is all of it is based on the essays that you wrote initially to even get in. And so I was a Coogan scholar at the school, which is, they gave it to, it was just like 5 of us. And it was really just based off of the essays that I had written and academic and professional achievements. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Tammy, how did you do funding?
Funding was part family, part state government. So that's my story.
So I just wanted to add real quick, in terms of funding. So another reason why DAMI Harvard was able to fund DAMI and a lot of people in Harvard basically is because it's a private school. So that's another thing that you need to know going forward when you're applying to schools. There's a difference between private schools and public school. UC Berkeley, unfortunately, I mean, as much as it's a great school, is a public school, and that's why it's called University of California. So public schools don't have as much funding as private schools because private schools have donors, they have alumni. So if you were to apply to California, you would rather apply to Stanford than UC Berkeley. So I know I'm not giving UC Berkeley a good rep, but I mean, we have all the Nobel lotteries and everything, but the truth is funding is a huge issue. So if you're going to apply to any school in terms of funding, you have to look out for if it's a private or public school. So if it's a private school like Columbia, Harvard, Stanford, those schools are guaranteed, like they have money, like their money. Whenever I go to Stanford, I'm like, all these people have money. So just always keep that at the back of your mind. You don't want to go to a school where it's like, oh yeah, it's a good, name, but then they don't have that much funding because, technically by their structure, they're being funded by the states and not by private donors. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Pearl, I think there's a question that I want to ask you. When Dami was speaking, he talks about doing work for 3 years to garner experience and all of that. In your case, it was not the same thing. You went straight from school, yeah?
Yes.
Did you go straight from school?
Yes, I did.
So I don't know, did you have advantages with going straight from school? Did you have disadvantages? Do you think that people stand more chance to go straight from school or to work for some time, garner experience, all of that? Or did you have a first class? How does this work?
Good, thank you. So yeah, I did only 1 year. That was like literally NYC year that I worked at a law firm. But I would say that with everything, there are pros and cons. So again, to the personal statement that Dami said, like my personal statement was very, like I, just like Dami, I wrote so many essays to basically state my claim, because even at UC Berkeley, I think I was probably the youngest in my class, just like in terms of age, experience. Like there were some people who had worked in companies, law firms, that kind of thing. And I was just there, the youngest. So I think I personally am the kind of person who, I know what I want and I just go in and I just like, from there, the hustle mentality just, kicks in. So in my family, we kind of believe in education first. Like my dad's kind of person who is like, you need to do everything and then start working. Like then he'll just wash his hands from you and you figure out your life from there. So that's just how my family is. So immediately I finished from law school already, my daddy already sat me down to say, okay, where are you going to do your master's? How are you going to do it? How are you going to apply? So that's just like that's my own family background. And then so me not having experience wasn't a disadvantage for me because I already knew what I wanted out of the master's. Some people don't know what they want, and that's why they do the whole work. Like, okay, if I work this and this, I would be able to get this. If I do this, I would get this. So I already knew what I wanted. So I just had like a good sense of what I at that stage was just like I know what, and from there I would figure it out during my master's. I hope that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So, Tammy, I think that next question will be for you. We're almost at the end. Tammy, hello. Are you back? Are you here?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm here.
yes, you're the only person that moved from a master's to a PhD. You're the only person that
Yeah,
moved from a master's to a PhD directly.
yeah.
I don't know, and you didn't have a lot of experience with a law firm in the strict sense of it.
Um,
So,
uh, okay. Yeah.
give us some context to that. Like, give us like a background of the experience and then the advantages and disadvantages, things that you wish you changed, stuff like that.
Okay, let me start with backstory. I met Pearl first at a moot court competition. They came to my school to come, University of Benin, to come compete. That's when I first met Pearl. And I've been interested in litigation. Like, I felt that was what I was going to go into full time. So, hello.
Yeah,
Yes, I can hear
I hear
you.
you.
Yeah, so getting into doing my NYC, I got a job before law school ended. Yes, litigation. Yes, Jonathan. Yes, litigation. I know. I know. So during law school, I got a job with a son. So I was like, of course, excited. Like, this is it. This is the life. I got in there, and it was repetition all through. It was the same thing again and again and again and again. And at first it was like good, it was good. But over time I was like, okay, what else? So I met the SN and I was like, sir, we can branch out into other aspects in this firm, like the tech industry, the Nigerian tech industry is coming up. I'm interested in tech. I can easily form the link and everything. And they were like, you can do what you want to do, but the firm is mainly litigation. So I was like, nah, this is not the life for me. Then, then I was talking to my friend who coincidentally is attending Harvard right now, doing his master's, and I asked him. I was lamenting basically about how I felt like my life was stuck, and he was like, "Okay, you have free Wi-Fi in the office. Why don't you just Google something else, an interest on some point?" So I Googled top issues in law currently, and I saw one of them, fintech, and I was like, "Okay, what is fintech?" Then I clicked on it and I started reading. I was like, "Okay, you know what? I'm interested in this." So the next year, I told myself I was going to work in a firm that has more corporate experience, that works with fintech more, and I gave myself targets for the next year, and I attended classes during that first year and everything. Then the next year, I left that job. I got another job in another law firm, started my corporate life, and I was being invited to come talk for fintech programs, coming to educate law firms. And this was within, like, let's say 3 months of the year starting. And I was like, okay, so this is so the more I was speaking, the more I was researching, the more I was learning. And that gave me and then I came across cryptocurrency and I'm like, okay, so what's this bad boy here? Then I started reading up on cryptocurrency. I was like, okay. Back to the initial point I made about human rights not giving me money. I and my friend, we have an NGO called One Act of Nigeria. One act of random kindness. We basically go around encouraging random kindness from strangers to their communities and individuals per se. Then I had this like introspection. I'm like, what we're doing is not really going to change this country really, because we are going around giving people the little we can when the whole problem is from the economic structure of the country itself. So I was like, you know what, I'm switching from human rights to commercial. So when the option came up of, okay, what are you doing your master's on? If you had asked me before NYSC, I would have told you human rights. But after NYSC and into this, I was like, you know what, commercial law. So I got into commercial law. I came in here and the models were all everywhere. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this. But they're all targeted at fintech. So for the UK, what they do is some models are courses. They give you the option of having, of picking a topic to write on, while some others will just give you this broad expanse of topic and say you should write on it. So depending on what you think. So all my topics for all my modules were related to either something on technology, AI, or cryptocurrency. I made sure from banking and finance to international trade to intellectual property to sustainable development. I try to tie everything to international trade, to banking and finance, to cryptocurrency or fintech, and just relate it down, because that's my interest basically. And it showed a level of consistency. I don't know if you get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a level of consistency in my approach. Then while making all this approach and everything and speaking to people, that's when I stumbled on this idea. Like, actually it was during my dissertation. I stumbled writing my dissertation. I was like, so why don't Africa have this singular digital currency? And I was like, okay, you know what? Because immediately after masters, I was telling everybody, I'm coming back home. I'm coming back home. I really do not. I'm coming back home. But I was like, okay, why don't I see if I can develop this and see if I can? If I know it's not an if, it is going to give me a wide understanding of monetary policies, economic policies, the banking regulations, international and national, and everything. And doing all this also, I also sort of got like a job with Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria. But I told them I'm doing a PhD, and they were like, oh sure, continue. Then when you're done, we'll come back and you resume your position. And that was because I already had the interest of cryptocurrencies, fintech, and everything. So the reason why, like I said initially, I'm doing a PhD is because I just want to develop this. I don't know where this theory is going to take me to. I have mad ideas, but let's see. I'm trying to develop this theory to see wherever it eventually leads me to. But going from a master's to a PhD, I've met people that the reason why they are moving is because they want to stay back in the UK. Because when I started, I was not entitled to post 2 years post study visa for 2 years. I wasn't intending. So it's during my time they reintroduced it. So I've met people that were like, you know what, I'm starting a PhD, and they'll come and meet me. They'll send me their proposals to read. Like, what do you think my proposal? The first one I read was on agri. I was like, okay, it's cool. Then the next one he sent was on business strategy. I was like, bro, this is not what you sent me earlier. You were like, yeah, yes, change it. So if that's your strategy, good. I'm not going to judge you. Do everything to leave that country you can. Leave. Leave. I'm being sincere now, my G. Leave that country if you want to leave. But if that's not your case, if you really want to do something, then you have to have a level of consistency. You can. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more tidy if you progress from a certain point of um, interest to another that are correlated. The beauty about technology is it involves everything from human rights like Pearl to banking and finance like me to international trade to corporate restructuring, everything. Technology cuts across. So if you want, and I advise people that if you're doing a master's, try and relate it to something current. Try and involve. Don't just go to traditional methods. Oh, well, you can behave like my friend also that likes jurisprudence a lot and just go all jurisprudential. But you can also, I advise you to relate it with an international, a current topic like AI, machine learning, cryptocurrency, fintech. Yeah.
Okay. So Tammy, thank you very much. So Dami, I think the next question will be for you, and I think that will be your final question, and I'll just ask you to include your rounding up in it. Somebody was asking how easy is it to get to White and Case from Harvard? That's one question, and I think you should answer something. Somebody wants to go to White and Case straight from Harvard, so advice.
Okay. All right, so thank you guys for the opportunity to speak again. I would answer that question and also, include my, final words as we come to a close. Okay, so how easy is it to get to White and Case from Harvard? I think that, first of all, a school like Harvard gives you a great platform to get a job anywhere, right? That's the truth. But the reality is getting a job in the real sense is going to take more than Harvard, okay? So I think that a lot of times what happens is when employers look at your resume and they see Harvard, they're intrigued, they're like, this person must be intelligent, right? But if you don't have, for instance, relevant work experience, so imagine that in the US, they're like 150 people that are graduating from Harvard that year with a JD. A JD is more superior to an LLM in the US, by the way. So imagine there are 150 people with a JD from Harvard, they don't have experience. You're coming with an LLM from maybe Unilag, and then LLB Nigeria, LLM Harvard, no experience as well. You're basically at the same level, so they'll pick a JD over you, and that's the truth. But if you have, say, 3 to 5 years experience from a top tier law firm, it's easier for you to get an interview at least. And then from the interview, then you're able to then possibly get a job, right? And so I would say that, yes, Harvard gives you it's good for your resume, but there are so many different factors that go into getting a job. And I think on this point, I'll just include a few more factors. So first thing, if possible, try to go to a great school. That's important. If possible, try to go to a great school because a master's is really not necessary. I say focus on self-development every time, improving your knowledge. That's what's the most important. But if you want to do a master's, try to go to a great school. That's the first thing. Second thing, when you now decide that you want to go for a master's and the goal is to get a job afterwards, please get some work experience before you go. Because you realize that the competition is stiff, is very stiff. Imagine that, for instance, in my LLM year, there were like 180 people, the best minds from all over the world, some of them with 5 years experience at international law firms, Slaughter and May, all of that. And then you come from Nigeria with Alukwanu Bode or Bangwa Nigodado, they're like, who is this? What firm is this? So there are lots of things that are still stacked against you, even with that Harvard degree. And so it's important that at least you have some experience. The third thing is, if you want to get a job after, be close to your professors. It's so important. Like, once a professor loves you, they will fight for you. They would get you an interview. They would make sure that, okay, this student, they will flaunt you around. But a lot of Nigerians, we go for a master's degree and you just want to be in the library. It can't work. You take the professors out for coffee, you go, like, you must be aggressive. Otherwise, you finish the master's and you're like, oh, wow, back to Nigeria. If that was not your plan, you're disappointed. So make sure that you are aggressive from the get-go. You pick very, very critical courses. So if you want to specialize in corporate law, who is the best professor in this uni in corporate law that I can get close to? Does he have links at the top tier law firms? You research, you must be strategic. Otherwise, you'll be stuck. So be close to your professors. Next thing is, if you're going to go to a school, let's say if you're going to go to Harvard, there are certain schools that have distinct programs that are so expensive. Use that master's opportunity to take that course that you will not otherwise have had access to. So for instance, at Harvard, you have the negotiation. Negotiation is a big deal at Harvard, like they pay lots of money. And I was like, oh, I'm at Harvard, I'm going to take the negotiation workshop. And it was so useful to me on a personal level and on a professional level Then finally, please, I beg you, be close to your classmates as well. Some of your classmates have more influence than you know. So I have classmates who were already on partner track at Harvard, and it was simply a question of, oh, damn, you're trying to get a job. Okay, I'll send your resume to X person at my law firm in Europe, in London. So be close to your classmates as well. Don't just see it as an academic pursuit. I had a lit time. I went for dinners. I went for trips. I had a fun time because you realize that it's good to have that balance between being a student and also just living your best life, because it's about the full experience that you're getting. So those would be like my final points.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. So Pearl, I think the last question will be for you, and then please inculcate your final points, and then I think this is rounding up. I don't know, Dami says a lot about working at a top tier law firm and all of that. I don't know, does this merge with your experience? If someone does not work at a top tier law firm, are you doomed? Like, do you understand my question? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say that so Danny was my senior Unilag, and I'm just always like, he's my inspiration. And then as he's talking, I was just nodding my head, like, yep, this is the Danny that I know and love. Like, he taught me everything that I know when it comes to, just law, litigation, moots, and all that. So thank you so much, Dami. So Dami's like the voice of reason, and I think I'm the optimistic one who kind of did something slightly different in the sense that I didn't have the work experience, but what I did have, which something that Dami has mentioned, I'm because the hustle for me, like I knew coming in that I don't have all the experience. And yes, just like Dami, my class too, they were partners, they were people who were working in big law firms. And the beauty of it is that like they were all international. So they were from different parts of the world. So I really enjoyed that diverse experience, just like learning from people's culture. But yeah, so to anybody who's listening right now, like I didn't work at the top law firm doing my NYSC. But I knew leaving and like having this upgrade at UC Berkeley was like God's way of like, okay, show yourself, prove yourself, and see, show the world what you're capable of doing. And I was like, okay, cool, bet I'm gonna do that. So when I got there, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to go about it. So like Dami said, being strategic, that was me from the get-go. Like I was basically networking with people. I think one thing Nigerians do when it gets abroad is like they hug each other, like, oh, we're Nigerians, let's go to lunch together. Because I mean, familiarity is good, I understand, but I'm not that kind of person, because I'm just like, how can I have 1 year school at UC Berkeley to school to be just say, yeah, I'm going to be hanging with Nigerians. The beauty was that I was also like one of them in my class, so I had no choice but to like integrate with other students in my ask.
Hi, Pearl, are you still there? What happened?
Asking questions, knowing. Hello? Can you all?
I think you're back now. Hello?
Apologize. Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Thank you. It is possible to not have and get a job, but you have to work hard. Like the strategy is networking with everyone. You're going to the library, you're doing work, you're doing the legwork, because nothing else is speaking for Professor who was able to vouch, who helped me prep for my now. I didn't have the experience.
Oh my God.
I have. So if this hello?
Yes, you're back now.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say yes, just work hard. Like I'm going to just like hop on what Dami said. My internet, because I don't. Yeah, so sorry guys, I can help with any more questions.
Okay, so if you have any more questions, please put it on the chat group. I've been chatting with Tammy Koroye, PhD student PhD candidate at the University of Bradford. I've also been talking to Dami Wright. He is associate at Bangu Anigodalu, and he is also he finished from Harvard Law. And also there is Pearl Mweziwe. She is policy manager for Africa at TikTok, and she finished at UC Berkeley. If you have any further questions, you should put it on the chat groups, or I think they have Twitter handles. I think Dami Wright's Twitter handle will be on the chat group. He's going to put it on the chat group. His Twitter handle and his Instagram is there. You can ask them particular questions if you have questions. And Tammy, I think his Twitter handle is also there. And Pearl's Twitter handle is also on the chat group. Thank you very much for being part of this first panel. I'll hand over to Ilamosi to do the second session, and I'm hoping that we have a great time going further. So I'll disappear again. Thank you very much once again for coming around. We really appreciate you for taking the time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So Ilamosi, you are over now.
So much.
So much, guys. I'm sorry about the network.
Oh, just before I hand over to Pearl, I think I'll just do a small talk about the second session. The second session is about leaving the law. We have guests that have left the law to spaces like tech and communications and writing. I think we have Ukwe Adedeji. She is editor at large at Zikoko magazine. We have Rocky, who left the law for tech, and we have Diola, who left the law for communications. He is part of the strategy team at Noah's Ark. I think the conversation will be handled by Ilamosi. She's going to do for the next 40 minutes, we're going to be talking about leaving the law strategies, networks, all of that. And of course, the rules still remain. You're going to be as honest as possible, as open as possible. We're all lawyers, so please, nothing to hide. Thank you very much. Ilamosi?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're in charge now.
Okay. So this topic is one that I'm very excited about. Everybody that knows me knows that, well, this topic is very dear to my heart. So I'm very happy to be moderating this session, and welcome to all the panelists. So I will start with Rakib, and I'll go around the panel. So just explain to everybody what it is that you do and how you got into the current fields that you are in, so that everybody can have a good background, and so we can just carry the conversation from there. So yeah, Rakib. Is he here?
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Rakib. I, like Ilamos mentioned, I left law career for technology, specifically product management. So I'm a product manager in the technology industry.
Okay.
I started my product management career in Huawei Technologies.
Sorry to interrupt you. For people that are still lawyers like us, who is a product manager and what does that mean? What do you do exactly? Can you break it down for us?
Oh, okay. So a product manager is like the owner of a product.
Okay.
So, you know, the way you see all those fancy fintech apps, say your Piggyvest, your Carbon app, your GT Bank app that you use to make transfers.
Yeah.
Those apps are built by a team, yeah?
Yeah.
And that team is spearheaded by somebody. There needs to be direction. There needs to be clarity in terms of what they are building. So the person who defines all of that strategy, all of that clarity, this is what we want to build, this is how we want to build it, is most often the product manager.
You. Okay. That's fair. So how did you get into this field? Is this something that you started with in university, or it was a after law school decision to switch?
It was after law school, actually.
Okay.
Even though right in the university days, I always had that zeal, that love towards technology and technological products, right? So I always wondered how things work in general. So if I see a new app, I'm always curious as to how this thing works, who built it, how do they make money?
Yeah.
So even earlier in my years, when I was younger, I used to be very curious about how Facebook was making money. How do they prioritize their next features? Who decides what is being built and whatnot? So that's
Okay.
usually.
Okay, so that's fine. We'll come back to you because there are lots of people that want to know how people can transfer from being lawyers to tech pros. But I'm going next to Okpe. So Okpe, hi. Please tell us what it is that you do and how you transitioned from being a lawyer to that.
Okay, hi. Can you hear me? Because my internet is different. Okay. My name is Okwe, and I guess I'm a writer. But that's not what I primarily do. I work as an editor at a publication, a media publication, Zikoko magazine. Previously, I worked in traditional publishing, but now I think I'm more into media. So my work entails, say, managing a team, content creation, managing projects and products that we work on. I'm working part-time. I used to be the managing editor, but I'm working part-time now because I'm actually in school doing my master's in creative writing. So it's like I've completely switched from the law. To answer your second question about, how I transitioned there.
Yeah.
I've always been a writer, and I've always known that, oh yes, I also knew from like a very young age that I wanted to study law, but I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to practice. And going to Unilag kind of just settled that for me. It just kind of, I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. So immediately after law school, I didn't look for a job as a lawyer. I had already made up my mind that, I don't think I want to practice. Maybe say work at a company and be a, sort of company, the legal person in the company. But luckily for me, I got a job in traditional publishing, which I'm very interested in, being a writer and all of that, just like get a sense of how books are published, the process and all of that. So I started there as the managing editor, and then I moved to, but even while I was there, I should say, I'd always felt like I would go back to the law in some way or the other. So I took like different courses online. And again, because like Nigerian parents, they're like, oh, you went to school, you became a lawyer. Like, what are you doing with that? So in a sense, I was just trying to like appeal to them and, try to like build my legal skills, like try to learn a bunch of different things. But when I got my job at Zikoko and sort of like got like very, very interested in media and how like the media landscape works in Nigeria and in the international community, I think it just settled for me that I'm not going back to the law. And I just really just became very interested in media and, content and all of that. So I think that's the short answer of, how I did it. Yeah.
Thank you. And Tiola, same question. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Great. So I'm currently a senior strategist at Noaza Communication. So Noaza Communication is a marketing and advertising agency in Nigeria. So all those really nice Airtel ads you guys see and Multina here, we handle that. So what I do specifically is I do research, and then I develop like campaign direction. So a client comes to us, they want to sell something, you know, I'm responsible for doing initial research and coming up with a general direction that the campaign should take before, you know, handing over to the creative guys, that's the content writers and art directors and stuff. So for me, I wouldn't say I specifically knew, but since my third year, I knew that I wasn't going to practice law.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know what I was going to do specifically, but I knew I was going to practice law because by then I started delving into things media and communications related. You know, by my third year, I was already interning as an OAP and stuff, so I was already exposed to the media world. My sister was also is still into communications then, so I was helping her on the side with her job. So you know, I already developed that interest. So from my third year, you know, I already saw that path for myself. Like, you know what, this is what I'm going to end up. And as fate will have it, by my fourth year, I got to my first job. So while I was still in uni, like I had a job, right? And by my final year, I had another job. So everything just really aligned for me. And then as I graduated, I was like, you know what, law will be fine and stuff. So I just moved over fully into marketing and advertising from there. So yeah.
So I have a lot of questions though. I have a lot of questions. Let me just start. Why not law? Like for everybody here, there is a general story that, okay, I just knew that like this was not it. I want to ask you, when did you know? And like, why were you so bold? How did you have the courage to switch so easily? Was it I can't do this anymore? Like no matter what, this is not my life, or I just know that there's something else for me. What was it exactly that influenced, you know, your decision to change careers or switch careers?
Starting with me?
You, yeah.
Okay, so it was not close to being easy for me. It was actually a fight.
Okay.
I fought with my parents on this because, like Okwe said, you know, when you're dealing with African parents, you know, you need to have a certain level of, it's either you agree completely or you have to rebel. And naturally, I'm a rebellious person, so I rebelled. You know, the serious fight, I had to even move out of my parents' house for like 6 months just to pass my point across that I am not going to do this and stuff because I was fully convinced that this is what I wanted to do. Right? It's not like I just woke up one morning and said, I'm not doing it again. It was a steady process. It was in the entirety of my third year, like I said, you know, in my third and fourth year, I was really, really exposed to that marketing and communications world and stuff. And I saw the inner workings. I thrived there. And by side points, you know, I've never been the suit and tie guy. So the lifestyle of you know, media communications to also easily appealed to me, aside from the inner workings and everything. So, you know, my constant exposure in that 2-year period really opened my eyes. And then the fact that I was already making money before I left school was enough pointer for me to say, guy, you're really good at this. Yeah, your people that have left school are not earning what you're earning right now. So why are you throwing part of the law? Focus on this. So that's why I had the conviction to tell my parents that I'm not, you know, seeing law through and through, that I'm just going to stop at a certain points and chase my career in marketing and advertising.
Okay, so I'll switch to Rakib and ask the same. Yeah, I'll switch to Rakib and ask the same question. So Rakib, why not law? At what point did you know that you were choosing another career path? Was it while in school or after you left school? And what's influenced your decision to, you know, finally make the move?
For me, I think my decision was easy. So the thing about me, I think I like money. So after law school, I did try to, you know, apply to law firms. In fact, I did a couple of interviews. I interviewed at Olanium, I interviewed at Detail Solicitors. I did like maybe 5 to 6 interviews. Yeah. But, you know, just the general vibe around how much money I was going to be earning, I wasn't really comfortable with it.
So it was a money thing for you. For
me, it was a money thing.
Okay.
Then so I then started learning some other things and started applying to some other firms, people that do different things apart from law. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was then I applied to Huawei Technologies, and then I was invited for a series of interviews. Then I got in, So
Okay.
I liked the money they were offering. So it was a no-brainer.
Who
And
wouldn't? But did you have a background in tech before this? Like you said that you were interested while you were in school. Was it something that you were just reading about, or had you been doing
no,
things,
no,
getting
I had,
jobs?
I had zero background in tech.
We're coming back to you. You have to tell us the way.
I
We're
had zero
definitely
background
coming
in
back
tech.
to
But
the
I was,
way how you switch now. Because if you didn't have a background, I'm sure
I
there are
think
so many
it was,
people.
if you speak to so many people in tech, yeah,
Yeah.
one major thing they would
Yeah.
mostly complain about is the lack of, that learning resource. There's no, people would hardly have a background in it. So if you meet several product managers today, nobody went to school to study product management. Yeah.
True.
Even software engineers, you have seen many people that didn't even finish school and they're doing amazing today. So it's one of those industries where you need to showcase your degrees. Is not really emphasized. So what is important is your ability to be able to do the job. And you just need to prove that by doing some other things that are not really academic. So
Okay.
that was able to help me.
Okay. So for you, it was the money. Let me just summarize and conclude. It was the money
For
that.
me, it was the money, and then I got a good offer from one of the
Yeah.
best tech companies in the world.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good one. So, Okwe, what of you? And why not law? At what point did you know that, what writing is it for me? I want to be an editor. At what point did you know that it was time to make the switch?
So I don't think I fully knew at any point. So I just share like a really short story. After NYC, I no during NYC, so like at the start of NYC, at the point where you're supposed to, get your PPA.
Yeah.
I really didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't want to work at a law firm. And so I got posted to a law firm. So I got a job. I got my first job in publishing.
Okay.
And at the same time, I got my posting to a law firm. And so I went there and I wanted to get like a rejection letter from the guy because there was no way I was going to work there. First of all, the guy was saying, so I want to emphasize that it wasn't really about the money, but the guy was saying he was going to pay like 30K and it was a bit far from home, from my house. So, and I just didn't want to work there. Like I looked at the entire place and it just looked so dreary. And I was just like, no, like, no, I'm not doing this. So I went there, I was asking the guy for a rejection letter. And then I told him that he actually engaged me in a conversation about, about what I wanted to do instead. And then I told him, and then he was like, oh, then maybe just practice first. And then afterwards you can, go into this other stuff. And I was like, no, I really don't. Like, I really didn't want to work with the man. He looks scary. And it's like, the place would be very annoying. It was it was actually a nice place, but I just didn't vibe with it. And so I asked him for a rejection letter and then he gave it to me. And I took it to the secretariat place or something like that. And then there was a mistake with the rejection letter. Then I had to go back. I had to go back like a couple of times. And then at this point, the man was like, maybe it's destiny, maybe I'm supposed to work there. And I as well was like, oh my God, is God really telling me I'm going to work here? But even I actually, like at some point, I actually broke down in tears because I didn't know I was that averse to working in a law firm at that point. And maybe it just helped that I already had a job in publishing already. And then I, eventually I was able to get my rejection and I was able to leave as well. But I kept on thinking that, after I finished NYC, I'd probably just find somewhere to work. I didn't want to practice. I was pretty sure I didn't want to practice at that point. But I was thinking that, after I did 6 years, 5 years in uni, 1 year law school, I could at least use some of that legal knowledge. And that's not to say I don't use the legal knowledge, but like use it in a more legal centric environment. But when I started looking for my next job, I found that I wasn't looking for, legal type jobs. I was looking for things in media, things that had to do with writing and all of that. And then I found that it was just like, it was a thing where my subconscious was just actually actively working against, working in a law firm. It wasn't like I outrightly came and said, oh, I'm not going to use this degree for anything. I think it was just my subconscious. So there wasn't really a motivating factor. I think that if I had worked in the law firm, it might have been hard, but I like to think that I might have proved myself. I might have used, I might have done a very good job, because I like to think that wherever I am, it's just a matter of learning. It's just a matter of putting the skills to work and learning it. So I think that even if I had gone that route, I might have been very angry and very bitter in the first few months, but eventually I might have adjusted and learned and probably even excelled in the law firm. So I wouldn't say I had like any real motivating factors. Another thing I should add is I've always seen myself as having multiple not multiple streams of income, but multiple fields where I can play. So I don't think that, for instance, I'd be in media for a long time. So maybe tomorrow I want to work as a product manager in a tech company, or I want to go into data, that sort of thing. So I mean, my 20s for, so I think that like the opportunities are endless, right now. That's how I feel.
Okay. So let me go back to Diola. So let's talk about the parents question. Sorry. There's a bit of an echo on my end.
I think it's better now.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about the parent question. How did this conversation go? Because I know that a lot of people that want to switch careers, after their parents have paid their fees, 5 years, some people even went to law school, some people even do masters and then say, I want to switch. So how did that conversation go, were they okay with your switch, etc?
No, not at all, not even closely, not remotely. There was a lot of resistance and pushback from my parents. And this is weird, but that even motivated me more to rebel. And I'm a weird person, but forgive me yourself. So one thing I've learned with parents, and this is probably a little advice to anybody that's thinking of jumping ship, is if you're not sure, if you're not 100% sure, if you're not ready to commit 100%, don't do it. Just do what they are telling you to do, because it was that conviction that made me stay course, because it got to a point where I actually considered, let me just do what they want so that all this drama can stop, Like you said, after secondary school, after sending me to university, and then I'm now saying I want to do something entirely different from what I'm studying. It's not really, it's a foreign concept to them most of the time. But like I said, so I went to a specialized school for marketing and advertising. I had to fund myself. Normally it would have been my parents, but I had to fund myself because that's how much, they were against it. But when they started seeing the money coming in and the works that I had done, it was now a matter of, our son, well done, congrats, and stuff. But like I said, it wasn't easy. It's about conviction, personal conviction. Like I said, if you're going to choose a different path from what you studied in school, you need to brace yourself for this. And it all depends on the kind of parents you have anyway. I know that they are understanding parents, definitely. They're parents that would align, but for my kind of parents that are, really, really traditional, it was a serious fight. So it's all about personal conviction, really. If you don't have that personal conviction to follow through what you want to do, you might as well just, close your eyes and do the law practice and, live that life. But again, the key word for me is just personal conviction, really. That was what really drove me to doing, and just seeing the potential of what I could do down this line. They didn't have that vision because it was my vision, it was my dream, right? I saw the end goal, right? I've not even got to the end goal and they're already on board and stuff. So it's about that personal conviction and being able to see that bigger picture. It's actually what helps you to drive and convince your parents about really making that switch is what.
Yeah, so in essence, you have to have your mind ready to follow through. Okay. So Rakib, how was the conversation on your end?
150.
Rakib, how was the conversation on your end? How did it go with your parents? Did they take the news well? How did they react? And what eventually convinced them of your new career path, if at all they were convinced?
Oh, okay. For me, it wasn't a problem at all. Although it kind of came as a shock, they were just surprised that I decided to take that route. But they didn't take it personally or try to force me to do what I didn't want to do. I think it just starts with trust. I think my parents just believe in me. Whatever it is I say I want to do, they know that I'm not a stupid person. I'm very smart, so I'm just going to get it done, and I'm going to. So they wouldn't fret or be too, do you want to do this? I mean, my parents did not come from legal backgrounds. They did medicine. So it's not really, if maybe both of them were lawyers or maybe one of them was
it
a
might have been a bit harder.
lawyer, difficult, why don't you want to be a lawyer, whatnot. But a, completely different field. Then my sister is a software engineer. So she's already in the industry. You know what she does, so
So do you think that helps them to like be more convinced of your new career path, that somebody's already there, so she'll guide him? Do you think that helped?
I don't think so. Nothing.
Okay.
So even if she wasn't an engineer already, it really wouldn't have mattered. So for me, I think it was easy having that discussion at home. And then remember I said I like money. So I've not really abandoned the legal profession, so to say. So on the side, I still get a lot of, so because of my nature of work right now, I get to meet a lot of people. And in those conversations, I always make sure just to tell them that.
Yeah.
So more often than not, they're always hitting me up. I want to get this done. I want to get that done. Some of them that I know I can't do by myself, I just outsource it, to some of my friends. The one I learn how to do that thing, I take it upon myself to be doing any of that. So.
Okay. So Okwe, over to you. And in relation to this parents' question, so there's always the issue that parents are always talking about of having something to fall back on, that you need to have, a backup plan, you need to have a backup for this, you need to do something along the side so that in case if this doesn't work out, what are you going to do next? So I know that you mentioned something similar when you were talking about your transition. So how did that go for you? Did you feel it necessary to have a backup plan? And at what point did you, discard that and just face your new career full on?
So for me, I think I have a bit of, I think my parents are a bit understanding, and I guess there was already precedent in that my brother studied engineering. He's super smart, first class from Unilag, and he works as an auditor today. He's never worked at, in an engineering, thingy, even though the company he works in is an old company, but he has never worked in that capacity before. So it's my parents, they're very big on that, but they're also very big on education. And I started writing when I was 10. So my parents already knew that it was a thing that I was quite interested in, and they showed support. So I think it just helped that from a very young age, I was already winning awards for writing stuff. I think when I was 16, I won an EcoBank national essay competition. And they could clearly see that there was sort of a gift. I think it was the award that gave me my first laptop. And I think that was interesting for them to see. And along the way, they wanted me to work in a law firm. I remember when I told them, about the NYC story, and my mom was like, "Oh, are you sure you don't just want to work there?" And I was just like, "Nah, I'm pretty sure I don't want to work there." But she was still, eager to know that I was using my law degree for something. And I did. I was reading contracts a bit and all of that at work. And so I just used that to, sort of pacify her that, I'm doing a bit of legal work. I think what eventually sealed it for them is the fact that it was the point at which I got into school for my master's. I think that was just it for them. It was and I got a full scholarship to come to school. And my parents were just like, you know what, this person is quite serious about what she wants to do and all of that. So I think that, if you want to transition, I think that, like Dela said, like you need to be quite sure. And I think that you need to be very good at what you do, like show them that you're this good, like you're doing this and you're doing it quite well. I didn't really see the need to have a fallback plan, but like I said, I'm always trying to pick up new skills all the time. If I find like an area that I think is interesting, I just try to see how I can milk that and learn that. I didn't need to have a fallback plan. I would contrast this to, I have a sister who she crochets and my parents don't take it seriously, but she makes really good money, we're making like dresses and things. And I think it's just a thing where you openly communicate what you're doing. Like, don't be afraid to tell them that this is what it is now. This is like how the world is now, and this is what works. This is what I'm doing is lucrative, and this is how it is lucrative. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to show them the numbers, you need to show them how much you earn, but I guess it just helps when you're transparent with what you're doing, how you're doing it, like showing them like your work ethic is good and you're really good at what you do. They just tend to respect you more. And then also when there's money, they just tend to respect you and your decision. So it wasn't very hard for me, but it just helped that I had a bit of precedent, and then it just helped that I had that.
Okay, so let's talk about how. Let's talk about practical steps before we round up. How people can practically switch from a law career to another career path. Like, what are the steps that people ought to take? Do you advise that they do courses? Do you advise that they just show up at events, network? What are the steps that you took that you would advise that people should take if they want to switch career paths? So I'll start from you, Tiola.
Okay. So I'll just use myself as an example. What I did was to do a lot of volunteering, right? So, maybe for instance, I worked on Palm Wine Fest about 4 or 5 years ago, just organizing the event. I was a volunteer then and stuff. So I did a lot of volunteering. So just to gather experience and, like you said, networking. I met a ton of people that I would otherwise never met in this lifetime and stuff. So just talking to them, networking, and showing them that, hey, I'm actually good at this, so that I could get that, direction, so to speak. And then it was actually from that networking and volunteering that I got my first job, working at a talent agency and stuff. So it's kind of like a clear path, really, right? When you put yourself out there, right? So it's not just being on social media for the sake of being on social media. There are always opportunities, right? It's not about the money, unlike I'm sure Rakib is probably shaking his head, but it's not about the money when you start, right? It's about putting yourself out there. It's about getting the right plugs, right? So that's where the whole volunteering comes in, interning comes in and stuff. Let people know that you have something to offer and let them see you offering that thing and stuff. So when you get people to see this and then they start buying into, okay, this guy has something to offer. Step by step, like you said, is since you studied law, one thing I've noticed is being a lawyer actually gives you an edge if you want to diversify it. There's just this respect for lawyers. When I go for an interview and they see you study law, why are you here and stuff? So it gives you that aura already. So it's a good thing. But I took a step further to do a specialized course, like I said, in marketing and advertising, so that it gives me that extra edge, so I can have a bigger picture of what I'm trying to achieve and stuff. The great thing about marketing, let me use marketing as an example, is a lot of guys that are currently in big agencies didn't even finish school. Yeah. Right? It's about what you have to offer. It's about your creativity. It's about how wide you can think. But being able to ground yourself and learn the basics, best practices, guidelines, and all that, right, is a plus. So doing a specialized course is another way to go to get yourself more prepared and inclined. And then the last step, which I think is the most important, again, is actually how I got my current job, is LinkedIn, right? I was like, for a 2 to 3 month period, I was a nuisance on LinkedIn, right? I followed everybody that had anything, communications or advertising in their portfolio or their profile. I just followed them. And then I started doing think pieces, right? Think pieces on advertising works, think pieces on campaigns that I had seen. I also started doing my own opinion pieces on advertising in Nigeria. And I actually picked the interest of a lot of people, and stuff. So and just starting conversations, really, it's like treating yourself as a brand, right? You're trying to, you have a product to offer. What you have to offer is your skill set, right? How do you sell your skill sets to people that are looking for somebody of your skill sets? So that's why you're creating content for yourself, getting people to understand your philosophy and your ideology as a person, and then showcasing that, okay, this guy actually knows his onions. Let's see what he has to offer. And like I said, that's how I got my current job. So like I said, first step, network and volunteer. Second step, it's always best to do a specialized course, something that people would respect, because Nigeria are very, very keen when it comes to having certification. It's not a must, but it helps a lot. And then lastly is put yourself out there, let people know what you're about, let people know your philosophy as a person, let people know your ideology as a person. And with that, I feel like it's a great way to transition into whatever field it is you're looking at.
Okay, thank you. So Rakib, over to you, just quickly so we can round up. Would you say that you followed the same path? Was it networking that was able to, break you into this new career path that you are on? Did you have to do anything special? Was it by volunteering and pushing yourself out there? Just give us a very brief summary of how you switched from law to your current career. Is Rakib here? Okay, if we cannot have Rakib, let's have Ope. Ope, are you available?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I'd say for me, so I've worked in a bunch of different fields, even though in the same capacity. So I worked as managing editor at a traditional publishing company, and then I worked as managing editor at Zikoko, which is a media company, and now I'm editor at large. All of these are different, very, very different roles, even though they sound very much alike. And I think what I did was, at the beginning, I didn't really take any courses. Like I said, when I started working, in traditional publishing, I was still taking legal courses because I thought I was going to do something legal after NYSC. So what I did was I was just reading a lot, and I read a lot. Like I'm just constantly reading stuff, just like sifting through information, trying to find out, okay, how did this publisher do it? How did this managing editor do it? That's just the kind of person I am. I read a lot. And that's something similar with what I did when I was working at Zikoko. Now there's some skill sets that I had to actually learn, like take courses to actually learn them. So like something like analytics and SEO and all of that. I had to take courses to actually like properly learn them, and then
courses like in online courses or
online courses, yes. Online courses to actually like get better at them and then also like just apply them on the job. But even beyond that, I was listening to like a ton of podcasts, reading a ton of information, following like all the big shots editors everywhere, New York Times, New Yorker, Complex.
So what I'm gathering, because there's a common thread, is that you developed an interest in your certain field. From what I've gathered from what you and Diola have said, you developed an interest, you followed the interest, followed everybody that was relevant there, kept chasing them, learning, gathering experiences by yourself. Then you got certified.
In a sense, yes. Okay. Yeah. Just find, like, I think that, the good thing about the world now is that like there's no information you won't find online. And then the good thing as well is that there are people who have done it, who are doing it, who you can talk to, ask for advice. Even I don't necessarily reach out to people for advice as much, but what I just try to do is I try to follow them on social media. So I follow someone the editor of the New Yorker. I follow him on social media, and I'm just always trying to say, okay, what is he reading today? And then I'll go and read it because, just get a sense of where this person is at. Follow like just a bunch of different people, and then read a lot about processes and, see what I can adapt in my own team, in my own personal skills. And, as a segue to that, I'll just say this, even though it's really related in a sense, but why I'm doing this master's is people feel like you do a master's in something like creative writing because you want to be a better writer, but that's not necessarily true. I'm doing this to apply, like what I'm learning here to all the other different things that I do. I think that being a writer, you just suddenly have the advantage of working in like different fields. So you could also work in a law firm and just have the advantage because you're a good writer. You could work in a comms role, you could work in a digital marketing role. Like there's just a bunch of different places where you can work, and you just have an advantage over someone who can necessarily write as well. And that's why like writing is one of the top 5 skills that employers look for, and that and communications as well. So it's like that's one of the reasons why I'm taking this I'm doing this master's, because like I feel like I can apply it in a bunch of different places where I want to work. And even beyond that, I'm taking like other courses and like I'm trying to pick up other skills as well. So I'm not just going to sit down and say, oh yes, I've kind of established myself in this field. I'm going to try to improve it, I'm just asking myself, okay, what's next? I've done this, I've done that. What's next for me? And I think it's important for everyone to look at the big picture. Noun is nice, but also the big picture is nice. I don't think we're not like our parents' generations where they sort of worked in certain fields for like years. My parents were bankers my mom worked in the same bank for 30 years before she retired. But now you find that people are people are moving around. We're millennials, we're moving around. And the only way to do that is if you keep on upskilling yourself. And you can do that by, doing all the bunch of things that I've mentioned, that Adela has mentioned, but also just talking to your colleagues. I think that's something that people don't take advantage of enough. Talk to people. It's okay to be vulnerable, to talk about, oh, I don't know this. I don't know, I'd like to learn this. If you don't talk, you won't know how to. So I'm currently taking a course. And what I did was I was a bit wary of doing it because I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to learn it. But I just said, look, let me just talk to this person. And then she recommended like a course for me to take, and I've been taking. I'm like, wow. So if I didn't talk to this person, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't get this information. It's just like keep talking to people. Like just keep talking to people. Follow people. You don't need to disturb like people, but like follow them and get a sense of things that they read, things that they do to upskill themselves, and just try to take what you can from them. Yeah.
Okay, that works. So, Shib, over to you, just bouncing off of Ope's points. How important do you think mentors are if you're switching careers? Is Rocky back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, so how important is it, do you think, to have mentors if you're switching career paths, or just people that you can consult and talk to? Do you think it's something that everybody should have as a necessity, or you think you can just strong arm it and move away?
I think both options are correct. None of them will be wrong. It's very important for you to have mentors. In an industry like tech, it's good for you to have people that you look forward to, you look up to, you like what they do and whatnot. So for me as well, I had mentors when I started out. I had people that I was looking up to. I liked what they were doing, and I was able to, reach out to them, even out of the blue. So don't be scared. You can actually hit anybody up, even via LinkedIn, via Twitter. Social media is there for a reason. It's not just there for all the banter. You can also use it to develop yourself, reach out to people, try to go straight to the point, cut off all the other relevancies when you're introducing yourself. Just, as much as possible, try to be very precise. Let them know why you're reaching out. And then more often than not, they are going to respond to you. Again, let me just put it here. If you are going to transition into tech, for example, you're not really doing anything out of the blue, or maybe anything that nobody has done before. Even outside Nigeria, especially, even people that work in top companies like Google, there are two examples I would use. There's this guy that used to work in the legal department at Google. He switched, he left his law career at Google to join the product management team at Google. There is another guy in the same vein. He left the legal department at Twitter to join product management at Twitter. So it's really not, there's really no straight line. You can always think about it and say, why would you leave being a legal counsel at Google to then change and transition into a different department. You understand? But
Yeah.
people know why they are doing different things, and then it's really not it's a no-brainer. If you know what you want to do and you know that you will do anything to achieve it, you can stop. You know, when you feel stuck, don't just think about it. If you really feel stuck, don't think about it. Just leave. Do something else. There's so many things you can do in tech apart from product management. You can be a designer. You can learn how to code. You can actually be coding. You can be writing code. People start learning how to write code today. And then another 1 year, even less, they're already getting good jobs. You understand? So there's really no, you just need to be very hands-on. You understand? And then just take it as a do or die, basically. Anything I am doing, I take it as I'm either going all in or I'm not doing it at all. So if you are going to consider that transition, you need to go all in with full force, knowing that it either works well
Or it
or it
doesn't.
goes out really badly for you. Because where do you now want to start from? You know, are you going to go back again after so many years doing something else, trying to apply to law firms, or what do you really want to do? So you really need to make that conscious effort to go all in. And this guy, like they say, is the starting point.
Thank you so much, Rakib, and thank you to all our panelists. Unfortunately, that is all that we have time for today. So we'll be wrapping up today's session.
So thank you very much, Ilamosi. Thank you very much for taking that session. That session was about leaving the law, and we had Okwe Adedeji, we had Rahim Rakib, and we also had Deola Jayesimi, and we really hope that you've learned a lot. So we're moving to the next session. Now, in our planning, we hoped that this would be flowing from with opportunities within the law and then opportunities outside the law. But you know, these things happen and our brains are not partitioned. So we're going to hope that you will follow us correctly. Our next session is about starting your own law practice, either starting your own law practice or private practice generally. So even if you are in a firm, if you're in a firm or if you're in a company, how to run your own personal practice, or if you're outside a firm and you're trying to do your own personal practice, you're trying to start your own partnership or a sole proprietorship, we are looking at how to do that in this session. So I'm going to introduce the guests and the moderator. So for this session, I have Jola Olaifa. She is the founder and lead consultant at Ziden Legal. I think it's Ziden or Ziden. I don't know exactly. I think she'll tell me. Jola, how are you? Hello, Jola.
Hi, Zikora. I'm very
Yes, so
well.
good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I think you'll have to on your video, Jola. And we also have Andre, that's Leo Andrevic on Twitter. He is Emmanuel Udo or Odi. Anyekbeno is what I know. So Emmanuel. So he is an associate at Manifield Solicitors, and so I think he'll be giving us insights from within a law firm how to do private practice while you're within a law firm. And July is founder and chief consultant at Ziden Legal. And I'm sure Ziden Legal recently won a top 100 award for corporate governance in the world. That's top 100 firms. And so she's doing something amazing. And I think we have a whole lot to learn from this session. I will not be moderating this session. This session will be moderated by someone, our Chief Communications Officer. He's been very amazing with communications at the Great Discourse. His name is Isaac Samson Grace. So Isaac, how are you? Are you here?
Yeah, hi everyone.
So I'm sure we are good to go. Andre, are you here?
Oh yes.
Yes, I am.
Who is? So Andre, please on your video, and we cannot see your video. So of course, Isaac will be leading the conversation. So from here, I'll hand over to Isaac. Isaac, I trust your judgment. So let's take this session for the next 30 minutes. I think we will be good. It's all right. So see you when I come back.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction. It's nice to see Jola again.
Hi, Isaac.
Yeah. And it's also nice to see Andre. I know Andre from Twitter. Hi, Andre.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
So one of the most important questions the lawyers always have is when exactly can they make this switch? How long do I have to earn salary? You understand? I'm sure a lot of people are looking towards switching from the salary structure to private practice. Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to start with Jola. What gave you the conviction that you could start up on your own? At what point did you make that decision?
At the point where there was enough revenue coming in, stable revenue coming in. I didn't start out with private practice. As you know, I'm
Okay.
barely three years at the bar. But I always had my clients and practicing in a law firm, and then I switched to managing PR for MTN. Didn't give me enough time to do what I wanted to do. So I just found myself outsourcing. You know, I just found myself giving out my briefs and asking trusted people to handle it and taking a cut. But at some point when I checked what was coming in salary-wise and what I was getting, I was making almost 4 times what I was making. And I didn't even spend I wasn't spending 50% of the time that I was giving to, you know, another person's venture. And I just felt, you know, I would take all my money myself and build the structure around this. So that was it.
Okay, thank you very much. So Andre, have you started your own private practice?
Yes, I have started my own private practice, but these are questions that, you know, for some of us that are working in a law firm, you're not allowed to have your private practice outrightly. Some law firms have active non-competes in their employment contracts, whilst for others there are subtle non-competes inside. You just know that you're not allowed to do your own briefs on your own. If you have something, bring it into the firm. And of course, some law firms are magnanimous enough to say if you bring something in, you get 10% and all of that. But still, it doesn't, private practice is not necessarily about money alone. In terms of your ability to engage with your clients, your ability to win clients and own clients, this is something that you cannot do without as a lawyer. Every lawyer is supposed to be able to, I would say that what is most important for a lawyer is being able to win clients, own your own clients. And it doesn't quite matter if you're working in a tier 1 law firm or a tier 2 law firm. You have to be able to have your own clients, people that specifically ask for you, people that want you to be their legal representative. And the moment you can find that, then you can say, okay, I have my own private practice going on. So I think it's bifocal in the sense that you have private practice for people that stand outside themselves, like Zaiden does. Zaiden does great. And then for people like us that are inside here, for us, it's a means to an end. You can't ask for partnership if you can't boast of people on retainer for certain amounts of millions. So that's the nitty-gritty of it.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been following through the sessions from the first session today up to this session, and one thing Georgette said was that she wouldn't advise a very young lawyer who's just coming out of law school, you know, to start his own private practice. So I'd like to switch to Jola. I'll ask a two-in-one question. What's your opinion or further opinion on that? And do you have like a startup kit or like set of skills that a lawyer should have if you want to start up on your own? Looking at it from Zaiden's perspective, if you want to stand on your own, what are the things that you think that you should have as a lawyer?
Okay, so I'll say that the first thing you should have is confidence, and then you have to be very, very curious. You wouldn't get anything, or you wouldn't get everything you need from law school. That's the fact. And okay, I practiced for a couple of months under a law firm, and I was exposed to, you know, the way law firms work. Ziden is not a traditional law firm, so I just want to say that we say that we're a legal consulting firm. Yeah, so it means that we consult and then we execute. So we consult first and then we execute. When I worked, I wouldn't say you should go directly. Yes, so maybe practice for a couple of months, but definitely, your brand is you. You are your brand. So even when you are practicing, whatever it is you are doing, whatever it is you're doing for that firm, you know, it's going into your own portfolio, it's going into your experience, it's going into everything that you have. You should be able to take cognizance and try to learn everything about that. Try to learn, I worked in litigation for a while as well. So try to see what the other person is doing as well, you know. I made my jottings into articles, and if you're going to make your articles, then you have to do more research. You understand? There's global practices, best global practice. How does it work in other jurisdictions and all of that? So that way I was learning. While I was in law school, let me even say that I didn't even think that I was going to practice law. I didn't get interested in practicing law till I was in 400 level. Not practicing law, I was interested in company law. I mean, that was when we came across. So I'm like, okay, this might be something I'm interested in. And then I got into law school, and there was corporate practice, and I really loved it. So while I was in law school, I started taking online courses on corporate strategy, finance, and all of that, because I was very curious about what was going on in that area. And I learned, I took exams, I took certifications and that. So I knew that if I was going to practice law at any point in my life, it would be strictly corporate commercial. When I came out, I moved to the law firm. They helped, yes. So we had a lot of, you know, private equity and debt management and all of that going on. Yes, so I was able to, I was always in the library. I was always reading, and I was always practicing. Before I left law school, I had my first client. And I mean, I kept saying it was terrifying, because it wasn't a Nigerian firm. It was a big corporation. They were in about 40 something countries at that time, now 50 something. And they wanted me, they were moving into Nigeria. They wanted me. And I'm like, yo, I'm not done with school. I'm not even, you know, allowed to practice it. But so, okay, just look through this, look through that. And so that was where we got a consulting firm. Consulting. So I was consulting, but I wasn't executing. I was consulting, I wasn't executing. And because they made such high demands of me, I had to, you know, I had to defend myself. So I had to read, I had to learn, I had to talk to senior people, I had to walk thrice as fast as I normally would have. But I was doing it. And by the time they moved into Nigeria, I did the whole OSIC, NIPC registration and everything for them. They settled here, and then I was placed on a retainer. And so by the time I was getting called to buy, I was already earning in dollars. So that was there. I wasn't going to give that to anybody. I wasn't going to give that business of buying to anybody. So if I was getting a PPA, if it was something that was going to require me not having enough time to do that, I wasn't going to take it. So I got a placement at Olanimo. I got in a couple of law firms, but I was living on the mainland. I was living in Ilupeju. I knew that I couldn't, there was no way I would be able to, you know, maintain my practice as well as work in this law firm. So I stayed with a law firm in Ikeja, and the pay was 30,000, but I wasn't even bothered, because I wasn't going to be, you know, depending on that. So I had that, and they were quite liberal, like Andre said. They allowed you to have your private practice because they weren't paying you so much anyway. So whatever you can get, do, my dear. You use the printers and all of that. So from there, from that client, I got about 2 other referrals. It was getting big. I couldn't handle it myself because of time. So I had to start outsourcing. So, you know, do this, I'll give you 70% of whatever comes in, I'll keep 30%. And that was how we grew. By the time I decided to build a structure around Ziden, we had about 14 retainers, and about 70% of them are foreign organizations. So like I said, you have to be confident. First of all, you have to be confident to know that, yes, this is something you want to do. This is something you can do. For me, it was the money. It was the money. It was all about the money. Law is not, I find it interesting. I find what I do interesting because I get to choose what I want to do, the briefs I want to work on, because I get to determine that. I pick what interests me. But I don't have a passion for law. I always tell people, I don't wake up dreaming of law. I don't look to becoming a senior advocate at some point. If it happens, that's very fine. If I get an honorary, confirming, that's also very fine, but I'm not going to pursue it. Because with law, I am a business person, basically. So I am doing the business of law, and that's what I do. So the question of whether you want to come into that immediately after school depends totally on you. The worst you are going to do is make mistakes. You're going to learn from it. So maybe not build a structure right away, but start.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. One thing I picked from what you said, and I'd like to use as the basis of my question to Andre is, you spoke about building your brand. Mansfield was where he has built his own brand independent of his firm. So Andre, over to you. How do you suggest that lawyers can build their brand? Because if you're starting out on your own, your brand is very important. You understand? It speaks for you even in rooms that you don't enter. So how do you do that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would want to say that not everybody gets to be the Indaboski of Igoshere. That particular title has been taken. I urge everybody not to try. It has been trademarked, if I do say so myself. So in light of that, I would say that, well, first of all, winning clients is the most important thing about private practice. I had a friend just yesterday. I think he saw the flyer, and then we were speaking about the private practice. So it was like, okay, we might be able to start up a firm very soon. And it was like, so how much in retainer can you be sure of? Because you need to understand, a retainer is the money that you're sure of, the money that you have at hand. And retainers are very important. You hear stories of a lawyer going 10 years with small briefs, and then they get one brief and then they are made for life. They hammer. And that's fine. That's okay. But you need to have something to survive for that 10 years before you hammer. And then for some people like us that we don't drive, we want to be able to ball, we want to be able to buy Benz from law. For people like us that have these goals, we can't afford to just jump out and say, okay, let's start our retainer. So because of that, my friend told me that he has 25 million naira. He can be assured of 25 million naira worth of retainer yearly. And this is my friend, this is my peer. He was my bunkmate in law school, and he has this amount. It's just 3 years post call, and he has this amount going for him. And I was like, okay, that's great, that's fine. But you want to have at least 50 million naira in it before you start your private practice. I understand that that's a very high cap. I understand that people can start off with smaller. The good thing about private practice for law is that you can start with very small. But let's talk about the big first before we go to the small. I told him that the essence of you starting that way is that you can start up, you can rent a firm, you can employ people. You don't want a firm where when they post lawyers for NYSC, they come and ask you for rejection letter. You don't want that. You want to be able to have a firm that's, when people enter inside, they're bamboozled. When clients come and they see the firm, they are okay with you charging them 30 million for a brief. There's how a client will come to your firm, and when you call an amount, he will laugh and walk away because he knows that you need the money. So first of all, it's always advisable to be able to be assured of a retainer. in large sums. And of course, winning clients is not, there's no science to it. There are different methods to it. For Jola had said that she started from international clients from law school, and not everybody might have that access. But I did make a tweet once that CAC briefs are the ghetto, but I don't particularly dissuade young lawyers from getting CAC briefs. In fact, primarily, I would say that get as much CAC clients as you want in your first month out of law school. Actively pursue CAC briefs. And then the one thing you should do after you get a CAC brief, don't just register the company or the business name and then leave the person hanging. Follow up with the person. You have to follow up with these clients and then get them to put you on retainer, even if they're not making money in the moment. Even if they just started, somebody has met you and she's selling crochet. Okay, fine, you're selling crochet. I'll register. Let me be your legal secretary. If you have questions, come to me. And eventually, one day, this person might get to the point where she's making millions from this crochet, and she'll remember that you are the person that she started off with. And that's how you secured that retainer. So that's one thing that I did. I also think that another thing that you should do is, so what I do is I always introduce my clients to each other. So if I have a client that is into building and construction, and I have another client who is a manual laborer, I introduce both of them. If both of them have a successful business relationship and then they make more money, that just means that my retainer has increased. And clients want lawyers that make money for them. So the moment you can prove that you're not just valuable for in terms of the legal aspect, but you're making money for them, then the client is stuck with you for life. And in terms of advertisements, as Jola has said, the personal brand is very important. You want people to know that this is what they are coming for. I've had a lot of jobs from Twitter. I've had people randomly text me that, oh, I saw you tweet about this. Can you do this? And I'm like, yes, I can. I may not be able to, but in the moment I can. Bring the brief. Once you bring the brief, what I cannot do, my firm can do. What my firm cannot do, I can consult somebody to do it. But I've had people reach out to me, and why they are comfortable reaching out to me, because Twitter is a mad place. But why someone would still choose a lawyer from Twitter is because I have demonstrated competency. I make sure that my tweets show that, okay, that I actually know a thing or two about law, and I'm in a position to be able to take care of your needs. So that in itself is personal branding and advertisement. You want people to know that, okay, that you can do this. So that when someone was in a bus randomly and someone was saying, I just have this problem, they'll say, I know somebody that can take care of this for you. There's a tweet, look at this guy. And then you get a DM. And before you know it, a random 200, 300,000 naira that you were not expecting comes into your hands. So the first thing you have to do is make sure that your branding is on point. You have to make sure that people know that you are a lawyer through and through. Now, I understand that this might come a bit iffy because I need to talk to Ife about that, because before setting up our session, what Ife did was he brought people from abroad to come and dissuade everybody, to come and tell people to travel out. And then as if that was not enough, the next thing that he did was people to come and say that law is not good at all, that in fact everybody should leave law. So I'm sure that the people that are left here now are just barely hanging on. But the thing is, the truth of the matter is, you can make from your own private practice, you can make sufficient money. Like you can be very, very rich from practicing law, because the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what field you're in, at the end of the day, they need a lawyer. And it doesn't matter how much of a tech world the world turns into, they always need lawyers. So I wouldn't say everybody should run away from law, and I wouldn't say everybody should run away from Nigeria. As much as you can, stay, dig down, put your feet into it. Try to be a lawyer through and through. Make sure that people see that you're a lawyer through and through. And the moment you can demonstrate this competency, I'm very sure that you'll start getting briefs. It will start small. It will start from CSC. Before you know, you've sold 1 or 2 properties. Before you know, you have someone that was like, okay, come and be my personal lawyer. And from there, very soon, you buy Benz.
All right, thank you very much. So our
You're
time
welcome.
is fast spent. I'd just like to ask one question of both of you very briefly, just straight to the point. So Jola, the truth is that private practice is not for everyone. That's just the truth. Especially, when you're coming out of law school, you're very uncertain sometimes. Unlike you started before law school, during law school, you knew what you wanted to do. Now, but a lot of times there's this there's this tension after law school, there's this uncertainty. Exactly, what do I do from here? You understand? So how do you, in your opinion, how do you decide? Do you stick to working in a law firm? Do you go for private practice? How do you decide?
Okay, I want to say that I definitely did not know what I wanted to do before by the time I left law school, and I usually say that I chose my career by elimination. I did. I tried everything. I tried not everything, but I tried many things, and then
Okay.
it just seemed like this law one was the one bringing in the books. I went to don't limit yourself. That's what I'm going to say. Don't limit yourself. Try the law. I won't say that the law firm didn't help me. It helped me. I mean, in structuring and all of that. I moved to, like I said, I moved to communications. I did communications for about a year as well, and then before I decided to face Zyden fully. So you don't need to have all the answers. You definitely don't need to have all the answers. Try, keep pushing. If there is one that keeps bringing regular income, stick with it. Whether in the background or find a way to keep it in your life and then continue. You don't want to be.
All
You don't
right.
want to be.
Thank you very much, Jola. Thank you very much. So Andre, starting out is actually complicated. For those who have decided to start out, do you advise them to go into a partnership? Do you advise them to start into, like, what exactly do you advise? Andre.
Well, I think, yes, of course. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think, of course, the most important steps is starting. If you can start properly, then of course you are good. And then in terms of partnering, so yeah, one day I was on LinkedIn and I saw this firm, and immediately I saw the firm. The firm was eye-catching. It was marvelous. I decided to check it out. And when I saw the partners were my classmates from law school, somebody from group 3, group 5, and one Lord backbencher. They call them Lord of House of Lords. I think, yeah, one person from House of Lords. So when I saw it, I was marveled because I did not think that, oh, okay, I think, and I saw this last year, so we're still 2 years post call. So I did not think that we were already at that point. But then I then remembered what I knew of each of them individually. And one of them is very real estate savvy, and he's a Lagosian through and through. So he has houses, even though he's just a very young lawyer. He has houses for sale. He has people that want to buy houses. And then the other person was into entertainment law, always has been. I think he was a DJ or has something to do with DJing and music and everything. And then has friends that are musicians and stuff. So when both of them pooled their resources, a bit 3 of them, they pooled their resources, each of them bringing something different to the table. What they successfully accomplished was an ultra modern law firm that could take care of your consultancy needs and everything. And the thing people don't get it here is that surely I don't understand that the people that have money are old and stuff, but there's a new generation of millionaires coming up. Our age mates are becoming millionaires, and our age mates prefer to work with us. So if typically when the latest person to blow, the latest is not a Yahoo boy until proven guilty, but the latest not proven guilty Yahoo boy that has millions in his accounts and buy a house would much rather work with a team of young lawyers. And so long as these law firms know that money are well within their rights to make their money, and they can win clients. So of course, I would most definitely say that as long as you can trust your partner, because you don't want something where in 5-10 years you people start fighting and the whole thing, what you've built up, crumbles. So long as you can trust your partner, you guys are friends, perhaps schoolmates, law school, whatever it is. So long as you have someone that you can bring together, and then both of you can bring expertise, and not just expertise, but clients. Clients are the most important thing. So there are also instances there where one person just has the client, and then the other person has the expertise. But so far as both of you can bring sufficient value to the firm, then of course do partner by all means.
All right.
But if you can't do that, then if you have, I heard something about one guy, he left a tier one law firm recently. And the moment someone said, oh, man, this guy has left the firm, they're like, he'll be fine. He'll be very fine. I was like, what? He said, that guy, the number of clients that guy has brought into the tier one law firm, if he decides to go with those clients, that he's set for life. And I was like, okay, yeah. So in that situation, he would not need to partner. Just start your firm. You can start it from your boys' quarters, employ people, and all of that. So principally, yeah, a partnership. So far as it's favorable, it's encouraged. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much. I'm sure that we have all learned a lot from Zikora is on my neck already. I can see us turn this video on because we are out of time. So Jola and Andre, it's really, really an honor to have you guys. I was really excited about this session because when I think I saw Zayden's rankings, I think months ago, and I was like, wow, I'm not sure if I reached out to you, Jola, personally, but just know that from here, I'm proud of you. It's really a fantastic feat, and not knowing Andre personally, but you know him outside of Twitter, that strong personal branding is something that is also very commendable. So thank you very much. I think you have to move to the next session now. I want over to Zikora.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jola and Andre. Jola was my seatmate in law school, so I like to farm. As much as people say she's like top 100 in corporate governance in the world.
She was in my group. I have to farms too.
Thank you, guys.
It's all right. So thank you guys for
Zikora, we met in law school too. Why are you not saying that?
Yes, Andre. Yes, Andre was my roommate in law school. Was my roommate in law school.
I'm uncomfortable. You can't claim me in public.
Andre, I'm really sorry.
Okay.
I am roommate. I was roommate with the Indaboski Gosere himself. So please, you guys should respect me a little more when you see me. Please show some more respect. Anyway, so I like what Jola was talking about, international markets and all of that. I'll tell you something that has really helped me. A lot of my foreign clients, my personal foreign clients, it's surprising that I am foreign client. Yeah. A lot of my personal foreign clients were people that I met on freelancing sites. As a side, I think we'll do an event later about freelancing. When I started doing freelancing, I just wanted to write. Like I wanted to, it plays into what Jola was actually saying as well about just doing everything and seeing what works. I used to write CVs. I used to write stuff like that, like CVs, business plans, stuff like that. So suddenly I discovered I started a gig for legal services. And I discovered a lot of people were reaching out to me. And the funny thing about it is $100 there, $50 there, you've made your salary. And I remember the month I actually took what I was doing seriously was the month I made twice my salary on freelancing. I was like, oh my God, there is money in this thing. So it was fun going on, but I then learned a new trick that whenever I started chatting with my friends, I know I can't put phone calls there. And when I'm chatting with my clients, I say, oh, let's talk on Zoom. When we do a video call, and sometimes when I show knowledge of what I am doing, of what I know about their business, because they come around, some of them are in fintech, they are really young. And a lot of larger law firms have a disadvantage because they already have structures that are too hard for some of these people to. So for a lot of these people, I can reach out to them on a personal note. I can reach to where they are. We can talk on Snap. We can do everything. You understand what I mean? So, and I can provide services that probably others will not be easily able to. And I think that plays in for what you want to do in case you're looking to move into private practice. Yeah. I think we'll think about that in freelancing. Thank you very much, guys, for doing this. So the next session is on immediately, and I think the guests are ready. We're talking about immigration for lawyers. It's the Jackpot episode, and Isaac is going to be in charge of that. So I'm
so excited.
Isaac is very excited. I'm just going to introduce the people. I think we have Chidi Okoro and Timi Oyewo. Yes, so since we're talking about Jackpa, I think Isaac is more qualified to have that conversation. So it's Chidi. Chidi, hello, are you here? Hello,
Hello,
Chidi,
yes,
can you hear me?
hello, can you hear me? Yes, yes, I'm here. Apologies that I can't put on my camera, right now. I'm just trying to set up. When that's done, I'll put on my camera, but I'm here.
Oh, it's all right, it's all right. I really
Thank you.
apologize for the time that we've taken and the difficulties in time zones and all. I'm sure that, please forgive us. And please, so is Timmy here? Hello. Hello, Timmy. Oyewo, are you here? Oh, is Timmy here? Is Timmy here? Okay. Please look and see if Timmy is muted against his whether he's muted. Just click through. See if Timmy Oyewo is muted so that you can unmute him and he can speak. Oh God.
Timmy isn't here yet.
Okay, so I think we should just start with Chidi. Okay, I think we should just start with Chidi, and then when Timmy comes, we will move over to Timmy. So thank you very much, guys, for being around. I think Isaac will take it over from here, and we're talking about Jackpa. And in case your friends asked you to inform them when the session is on, I think it's on now, and I'm handing over to Isaac. Timmy will join you if he can, and if not, we'll just have a conversation with Chidi, and we hope we can learn as much as we can. As usual, the housekeeping rules still prevail. If you have questions, please put it on the group. We'll try to make sure. Oh God, sorry, you guys just. We'll try to make sure that we answer as many of the questions as possible. But if we don't meet your questions, we will hand out the Twitter handles of every of the speaker. I'm seeing that the conversations are already holding on Twitter, and so we'll hand out the handles of the speakers, and so you can ask questions and tag us as the Great Discourse on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or on Instagram, and we hope that we will be able to meet your questions. Please have a great time. I'll be off now, and Isaac will take over. Thank you very much once again for being part of this. So Chidi, it's you and Isaac from here.
All right. Hello, Chidi. Thanks for. Can you hear me?
Hi, Isaac. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right. It's really an honor and a privilege to have you here.
I'm happy to be here as well.
Yeah, because you're one of the people that I personally have always looked up to, being an alumni of the University of Lagos. So the theme
That's
of this
good to know.
session
Thank
is
you.
to Jackpa,
Not to Jackpa.
to Jackpa or not to Jackpa. It looks like a straightforward question, I mean, everybody, I can see the chat room already. People are like Project Jackpa. So it looks like a pretty straightforward question. But it's more complicated than it looks, especially for lawyers, because you probably will not just go and practice straight up. So I would like to take it in different sections. I would start from when you decided to jackpot in quote or travel. What prompted you? And how was the process like?
Okay. Hi. Thank you, Isaac. Again, it's an honor and privilege to be here. I do not take it for granted. But yes, when I decided, I would not say I decided to Jackpot. Let's just let's put that out there. What happened was I think if just a very few people actually make concrete plans to leave the country, for immigration purposes. At least particularly in my case, that was not the issue, because I just set out like every other person to go further my studies, do a master's degree, come back to Nigeria, and as it were, I got to, because I studied for my master's degree in the UK, but as it were, I got there, saw loads of opportunities that I felt was important for me to take advantage of, and the rest is history. That was how. So I would not say, like I said, I didn't initially set out to Japan. The initial plan was go get a degree, get a master's degree, come back, maybe get a better paying job, and but it didn't work out that way. So here we are. Yeah.
All right. So how has it been for you? Of course, there's a presumption that it's the grass is greener on the other side, but how has it been for you? Is it just a
Well,
presumption?
um, it is not a presumption.
Okay.
it is not. Okay, let me put it like this: yes and no, because it's people live under a certain illusion that once you go abroad, study for your masters or whatever it is, that whatever route that you're taking to you know um, leave Nigeria or for immigration purposes, that is just going to be seamless. That's not the case. Sometimes you have to get to a point where you do jobs that you would not normally take on. You understand? Like I particularly,
Okay.
when I went for my master's degree, there was money for my tuition, but I didn't have enough money for living expense and all of that. So what happened was I had to do, what we call, I wouldn't call it menial jobs, I'll call it blue collar jobs over there, where I had to work in a store as a store attendant. At some point, my first job in the UK was, as unbelievable. No, I wouldn't say it's unbelievable. I worked in McDonald's in the UK.
Okay.
I worked in McDonald's in the UK. At some point, it wasn't easy, because there were nights when I took walks from work and I was asking myself who sent me. So I think a lot of people are under the misconception that once you move, things are just going to pan out. No, like every other thing in life, it takes a process. Like there's one of sayings that I'm aware of, that only grave diggers start from the top. So what happens is, you know, you have to grow gradually. You have to be willing to take on jobs that unless of course maybe your father is Dangote and then it's going to bankroll everything, fine. But you have to be willing to take on some jobs that you wouldn't normally take on. The only good side to it is you wouldn't have to necessarily do anything extra. Those jobs are enough to pay, depending on your lifestyle, to pay your rent, to feed you, to transport you, and maybe depending on how frugal you are, to just pay, maybe you save a little money here and there. You understand? It's enough. But there are times when it gets into your head and you ask yourself certain questions, like, why am I here? I didn't expect this to happen, and then I was bombarded with you know I wouldn't say fear, but a lot of my ex-colleagues would call me, and particularly I don't know if she's in this session, but this is in no way digressing. I got married a few weeks ago. So then
Hey, congrats.
thank you. So my then fiance would make comments like, what are you coming back to do in Nigeria? There's nothing waiting here for you. A lot of those kind of comments, and then pressure from family members and friends, like, there's nothing waiting for you here. Why don't you try as much as possible? Sorry about that, Isaac. I hope. So,
Isaac, Timmy is here now.
Okay,
So,
I'm safe. Thanks for the concern.
okay.
Timmy is here now.
I hope you're safe.
Okay.
Okay.
Timmy,
So
Hey everyone, how's everyone?
hello, Timmy. Thanks for joining us.
Hey Chidi, how you doing? How you doing?
How far now? I'm good. I hear that you're chopping all of Canadian government money right
Amen.
now.
Isaac, are you fine? Okay, yes, you're fine.
Mr. Timmy Oyewo, it's an honor and a privilege to have you here. You sound like dollars or pounds, as the case may be. Yeah, it's really nice seeing you. So we started a conversation about to jackpot or not to jackpot, which is the theme of this session. And it seems like a straightforward answer, I mean, everybody is already commenting Project Jackpot. In your experience, being particular to lawyers, what do you advise? Generally you say yes, but being particular to lawyers?
Well, particularly to lawyers, I would advise that if your decision is to leave Nigeria, that you're very strategic about it and you are committed to a long-term project, because it's not impossible that the result you seek the result you seek might happen instantly. But if you're discouraged because it doesn't, then you're not serious, in my opinion, because it's a process, and it's definitely something that is worthwhile. But always remember, it's usually more of long-term than short-term. So that's my big advice. It's more of a long-term thing than an instant banger.
All right. So, how was the process like you? I asked Chidi already. When did you decide to leave, and how was the process of leaving for you?
Okay, well, I decided to leave Nigeria towards the end of my law school program because I said that I was going to go. No, actually, from my undergraduate program, I already knew I was going to leave Nigeria for my master's. By my final year, I knew what university I was going to go to. And by my final year, I also knew what program I wanted to do. So it was something I already knew before I went to law school. And as soon as I finished law school, I had my application process ready, and my JAPA was through the academic route. So I came for my master's the year after, and I finished that now and I'm working. So we thank God.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go back to Chidi.
Okay.
Following through from the sessions that we've had today, I heard Damilola say stuff like he traveled, but then he went to Harvard for his master's, but he came back because he felt like he would have more impact on this country as compared to the United States. So how would you measure the level of impact that a Nigerian lawyer can have over there? I mean, would you have job fulfillment? Like, how is working there like?
Okay.
Working as a lawyer.
I think first and foremost, you, like Timmy rightfully said, you need to view it as a long-term goal, because a lot of countries do not regard our degrees per se from Nigeria. So, in fact, the US is the worst. The US, I think, apart from anybody correct me if I'm wrong, I think apart from New York and California or something, or LA, I'm not so sure which is which, those are the only places you can write their bar exams straight. Every other state in the United States, you need to go and study law from scratch because they don't regard you. The UK is a different, system entirely, because as you are aware, we practice the same kind of legal system that they practice, which is common law. So what happens is all you just need to do to qualify in places like the UK or Canada. Let me not even say anything about Canada. I'll leave that to Timmy because that's his area. So, but for the UK, all you need to do is write the qualifying exams, the equivalent of our Bar 1 and Bar 2 here, LPC and GDL. Now talking about or delving into the idea of, are there like bountiful opportunities for lawyers, Nigerian lawyers in those places? I would say that those places are structured in a way that there are opportunities for everyone. You understand? So the question is, how hard are you willing to work to be able to make sure that you tap into the opportunities that are there? Because you must realize that, like, for instance, if you're going through the academic route to JAPA, the year you came in, maybe chances are that it's thousands of other students came in from all around the world, and the same opportunity you are chasing, they are chasing it as well. So, but you need to start doing things like, one of the things I did during my time was I did a lot of research. I did a lot of, I tried to understand how their system works, how things work out. And that is the mistake people make, because first things first, apart from maybe lawyers that set out to, migrate, from the onset, not following the academic route, chances are that when you follow the academic route, the mistakes people make at some point is that they they're trying to test the waters, enjoy where they are. Oh, probably I'm in the US, I'm in the UK, blah, blah, blah. One of the very valuable advice I got when I was leaving was, person told me, from the day you step into the UK, if you know you're not coming back, start making sure that you're looking for work. You understand? And it's pretty much what I did. So don't get me wrong, I partied a bit, went here and there, met a few people, but I knew that those things were in the corner. And that is the mistake a lot of people make, is that they come in and then they are all too caught up with the euphoria of, oh, I'm somewhere abroad, I'm seeing new things, experiencing new cultures, making new friends, and then they forget what, the most important thing is. So just to round up so that I don't waste time, it depends on the country that you're going to. And it also, the mistake people also make is that they rely a lot on consulting, all right, they rely on migrating agencies. You understand? There are migrating agencies in this country that sort of make bogus promises that they can help you land a job, here and there. Some people even go as far as saying, if you give us this amount of money, you're going to land this job. I'm not saying those things are not true. I'm not saying that they don't hold water. But what I'm saying is, usually if you're serious and you know you want to stay back, it behoves on you to do the research that you need to do and get the right information, understand the dynamics of the place that you are at, and then try to, work out the system. I leave Timmy to continue.
All right, thank you very much. Timmy, so I want something peculiar to what you've experienced in Canada, considering the fact that I think a lot of people actually want to come to Canada. I think that's the most preferred country for some reason that I don't know, because I've not been there. But it looks like that's the preferred destination. And flowing from what Chidi has said, you have to look at the country that you want to go to. You cannot just jump to any country just like that. So from the Canadian perspective, how's working as a lawyer like?
Well, working as a lawyer in Canada is an interesting experience. I'm not working currently as a lawyer because I've not completed my transfer process myself. So, it's something I can tell you better in the future about. But right now, I'm in the process myself. I would say the way it works in Canada is not too dissimilar from Chidi has described in the US, in that you come and you write some exams. And if you want to practice as a lawyer in Canada from Nigeria, you do what is known as the NCA, the National Certification or Collegiate or something Association exam, where they assess how your performance in your undergraduate degree and in law school, and then they tell you a certain number of exams to write. And then after that, you get a license, and then depending on what province you're in, you get to work in a law firm as an articling student. And then depending on what province you're in, you either do your final certification or you write the barrister and solicitorship exam. And the barrister and solicitorship exam has proven quite challenging for quite a number of Nigerians, because I have different people who have had to retake it and retake it and retake it. And like I said, you have to be committed long term, because there's different career opportunities. When people think of the beauty about having a law degree is that you fit into so many places. Like, you fit into so many places. There are so many things, like there's so many things you can do with your law degree that you find out that you don't have to go to court, you don't have to become the next Ganifa, you don't have to work in a law firm in the conventional sense to be fulfilled. So I would ask you, what is fulfillment to you? Because a lot of Nigerians come here and they go into administrative roles and they're fulfilled there. They go into financial institutions and they're fulfilled there. They go into different kinds of institutions and they're fulfilled there. And a lot of Nigerians go into proper practice. And I can tell you that the current Attorney General of Alberta, his name is Kelechi Madu. As of 2003, 2004, Kelechi Madu was sitting in University of Lagos, and he was sitting in the Nigerian Law School, just like a number of people on this call. And he's the Attorney General of Alberta right now. Kelechi Madu is 1 in 100, 1 in 200. But I always tell people, why are you focusing on the people that didn't make it? Is that your story? Why, some people didn't make it, some people came, they struggled, and then that's what you want to talk about. Why not focus on the one that made it and determine that you would even exceed that person? Because if they can do it, what's stopping you? That's my challenge to people, that you should focus more. There's always exception stories, and you should focus on making yourself an exception instead of the statistic.
All right. Thank you very, very much. So I would like to leave. I'd just like to ask one more question for both of you because of our time. So Chidi, very quickly, is there anything that people should watch out for or like they should prepare, you understand, if they want to move to another country to practice or not practice? Is there just anything they need to prepare for, look out for, you know?
Yeah, like I said initially, you don't just because this, if you've prepared or made up your mind that you want to jagba, using the term, these are not decisions you should just make lightly. Rather, it should be something that you have thought through. You've done your research. First and foremost, you need to determine or find out, okay, what jurisdiction looks or what jurisdictions should I be focused on? What are the pros and cons of going to these jurisdictions? Because I can largely tell you that before I left Nigeria, although I wanted to go study in the UK, there was this misconception that going to do a master's in the US was sort of more lucrative than doing it in the UK in terms of finding work. But what nobody told anyone was that in the US, when you secure, or rather when you're looking for a job, you need to jump two hurdles. And I'll explain. Whereas in jurisdictions like, let's say, in the UK, it's just one hurdle. Now, let me explain. Now, the US has a system where even if you find work with a reputable firm, that is just part one of your troubles. Finding that work is not easy, trust me. But you cross that hurdle and you think, oh, I've gotten to the finish line. That is not the finish line for you in the US. You still have to win a supposed lottery called H-1B2 visa. And imagine when your life is dependent on something that you do not have control over. It's I don't know how you want to navigate it. Like, I don't know the kind of prayer and fasting the person wants to do to win a lottery that millions will probably be on. Very few people win it. But as opposed to the UK, where if you find gainful employment in a firm, chances are that if the firm is listed as a tier A firm in the UK, they can sponsor your visa. So meaning that you just cross that hurdle. You have crossed all the hurdles that you need to cross when you find work. So I think is a lot of the mistakes that people do, because people just think abroad is the abroad. Once I go, everything should be fine. Probably, like I particularly always say that if not because of somebody's looking for, gainful employment and trying to better their career and all of that, I probably will not be working in the UK, because apart from certain places, it's a pretty boring place. British people are very, very conservative. Please, if there's any British papers in here, forgive me. So I think the metrics people should be looking at is do your research very well. Understand the jurisdiction that you're going to. Understand what are the pros and cons of working in that jurisdiction, of securing employment. Like I said initially, research. The mistake people make is they leave it to others to do these things for them. No, do your research, find out where you're going to, and then make up your mind that you're not going to stop until you get, what you want to get out of it. Like in 1 minute, I'm going to round up. Timmy said something that was particularly resonant for me, and that is a lot of people go abroad, and once they experience, let's say for instance, the things that we pray and fast for in Nigeria, like good roads, light, and all of that, if they find employment that sort of takes care of all of those things, you find that people relax. You understand? People relax and they don't do any extras. They find fulfillment in that. Nobody can blame them. You understand? So it all depends on what your ultimate, goal is. What's the bigger picture for you? Are you going to just, maybe get a side hustle there and then you think you're fine? So it's all in the bigger picture. But understand that it's not going to be easy, because a lot of people are chasing that opportunity that you're chasing. So you need to keep pushing till that door opens.
Keep pushing. Thank you very, very much. One last question for Timmy. Just one last question. So there was this trend on social media where somebody had to write IELTS here 5 times, and then there were a lot of comments, and then after that people actually started taking pictures in the snow, my snow picture and stuff like that. So to my question, so let's just say you decide to jackpot at the end of the day. What is your advice to settling down properly? How do you, what advice will you give to someone to help the person initially settle down properly into the place? Is there any initial advice,
Well, I would say the advice I would give you is to come with an open mind to this kind of place, to come with an open mind and to maintain your fire. Because as Chidi rightfully mentioned, little things can seem like positives, but they're actually killing your fire. Like you quit early because there's constant light, like there's light where I am and everything else, but this is not the end for me.
Some received.
So so you must maintain your fire. You have to keep reminding yourself of what your dreams are, and you have to keep an open mind, and you also have to be as social as possible, in my opinion, because if you think that you are going to just sit down somewhere in your room and opportunities will come, you are joking. Because I'll give you an example. My master trade and foreign investment law, and I have a friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in a few years, who saw the flyer for this program and called me. You're working at the bank. Your master's in international trade and foreign. I thought you were working in WTO or some. As if the second you finish, it doesn't work that way with a master's. A lot of people have this mentality that they just need to go to school, get good grades. Even if you top your class 10 times, if you don't put yourself out, not so, not networking, if you're not making the necessary connections, good grades are not going to make the Secretary General of WTO call you that this person that finished masters, come and start work. It won't happen. And you have to know that if you don't see results immediately, do not be discouraged. This I think my biggest advice for anybody on this call now, that if you do not see results immediately, do not be discouraged. If you have 20 friends that came here and within a year of arriving, all 20 of them started working in a certain position. If after 2 years of arriving, you are not working in that position, don't think the story is over for you. Don't think the journey is over. Even if 50 of your friends who came to this place all experienced the same thing within 1 year, and 4 years after you have come, it hasn't happened, it doesn't mean the story is over for you. It doesn't mean the story is over for you. Everybody's path is different. Things change, policies change, different things happen. You just have to stay positive. You just have to realize that your goal is your goal, and discouragement may happen, unforeseen events may happen, but you keep re-strategizing and you keep working with bigger picture. So that's what I'll say. Stay flexible, be social, and keep an open mind, basically.
Timmy, if you don't mind, let me just add a few things to what you just said. Just two things very quickly.
Definitely.
Like what based on what Timmy said, very, very resonates with me. A policy can be made today that is going to benefit you. Like I particularly am not even working in a legal capacity as well. I'm a tax advisor, in my firm in the UK. So, but what happens is, or rather what happened with me was, prior to when I came to the UK, there's something called resident labor market test that they had to carry out for people that were looking for work. And what that test meant was, if you were looking for work and you are a foreigner, they'll carry out a test. And if they can remotely find a UK citizen or UK resident that qualifies for that position, you wouldn't get it, because in their mind, why will I give job to someone when our people they're looking for work here and I'll give it to a foreigner? But it was in my time in 2018, for some weird reason, they changed that rule. The rule was now like that international students were now part of the resident labor market test if they were physically present in the UK. So I went for a session in school. Information is power. I went for a session because I was going to maybe go on a tour of Europe with one of my friends. So I went on a session, and one of the counselors there that was holding the session was like, she now made us know about that particular law. And then she made statements like, if you're planning on going anywhere, you better cancel the trip, because the rule only applies if you're physically in the UK. So there are things that are going to seem like, roadblocks, but if you keep focusing on the negatives, sorry, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to be like, I got 1001, In fact, there was a time when a letter will come through and then I'm reading it mentally in my head that unfortunately, when you go to the second line, we thank you for applying, then you go to the next line, you say that you see, however, or unfortunately, I had to mentally cancel those words in my head. I had to, in fact, I think there was a day, forgive me if I'm saying this, I'm a very spiritual person, but there was a day I was praying and I mentally wrote an employment letter to myself. I read the first line in my head and I said, we are happy to inform you that you have secured the position. So those are the kind of positives you need to maintain, because going abroad is going to jab you in different ways that you cannot imagine. It's going to jab you. Like you're going to ask yourself questions like, why am I here? These are the things you need to remember. Sorry, Isaac, if I took a lot of time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Flowing from what you said, I know I said that was the last question, but flowing from what you said, especially when you said traveling abroad is going to jab you, and I'd like to transfer this to Timmy. How were you able to, or how have you been able to cope if you've had to with the change in weather, and if there's been any case of racism? Have you noticed any case of racism? Has it been something you've had to adapt to, mentally move away, cope, What has it been like?
Well, what I'm going to say now might be interesting, but it's the truth inevitably. There is no place like home. And, as long as you are in a place where you are foreign and it's a foreign land, instinctively, a part of you will always realize, and a part of you will always sort of stand out in a way. And you have to make peace with that. You have to make peace with being you have to make peace with it. If you try to lie to yourself that this is like Nigeria, it's not going to be the case. As far as the weather is concerned, I would say I'm more delighted than upset about the weather, because if the people who knew me in Nigeria, I don't know how many people knew me in Nigeria, but people who knew me in Nigeria know I used to sweat a lot in Nigeria. Like I sweat very easily. Like I have whatever condition makes somebody sweat. So every situation I'm in, when I used to recall a situation in Nigeria where the distance from my house to my gate is here to here, and then my car is this way. Every morning to walk from my house to open my gate, by the time I've gotten into my car, I'm already sweating. That was my experience walking. And so I don't miss the heat at all, to be very honest with you. It's only that the weather here gets to -40 sometimes, but for the most part, I don't miss the heat. So I'm not like everybody else. But for some people, the cold here is brutal. It is brutal. I won't. The cold in Canada, that's what the UK and the US, and that's why it took Nigerians so long to come to Canada. But it's the immigration policy here is what is making people come here. Ordinarily.
So how about the racism part? Do you have like an experience, or it's just been the general?
Not really. To be honest with you, not really, because maybe because of where I am, the city I'm in, I kid you not, in my first few weeks down in this city, every time I'm downtown, like seeing black people is no biggie. You see black people everywhere. You see black people everywhere. You can't be on the bus and be the only black person. It's almost impossible. But it's so extreme that you walk downtown and you're hearing people speak Yoruba every 2-3 weeks. I'm hearing one lady screaming in Yoruba, and see something about for you, this is that. I kid you not. That's where I am. So I will tell you that Canada is no, I hope no Canadian government, this person is listening to me. Canada is no man's land, in a sense, in that we're all immigrants here. Here. Your professor is an immigrant from Austria. The other professor is an immigrant from the Netherlands. Your other professor is an immigrant from South Africa. We're all immigrants here. There is a Canadian accent, but there's no real Canadian accent, in my opinion. Everybody has a distinct accent. So when you come here, I'm different. So you're also different. So as far as racism is concerned, I haven't really experienced it. I have friends who have experienced it when it comes to employment, in that they were the most qualified people for certain roles. And it was people who had equal experience and everything as them. And they performed most excellently at the interviews, and they weren't chosen because of what we deduced to be racism. And one of the panelists would call them later and say, oh, we had this racist panelist that they confided in them. And those kind of things really break your spirit. Those kind of things can break your spirit. But like I said, you don't let unfortunate events discourage you. You don't let it. If you are somebody who one bad thing happens and, something, you're easily upset, this journey is going to break you. You're going to be broken on this journey because like Chidi rightly pointed out, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent on this one, but like Chidi rightly pointed out, you will get, for every job that you hear somebody has gotten in this country as an international person, know that they've gotten 300 or 400 rejection letters. And the rejection letters I've gotten in this country, they come in at 3 a.m. Sometimes they come in, like, you can just be eating your dinner, like, man, you played today, your phone will just buzz. Unfortunately, your whole mood is broken. You get over it. You have to get over it. You have to make peace with the fact that everything won't go your way and stay determined and convinced that God brought you here for a reason and eventually things will work out. That's just what I'll say. Stay positive, stay optimistic.
Thank you very much I think one thing I learned generally from the session is it's not a walk in the park, you understand? It's something
Definitely.
You still have to, So one last question, just a yes or no question so that we can close it up for today. Yes or no question for Chidi. Timmy first and then Chidi. You get a job offer today to come and work with the government for 2 million naira. Would you come back or stay in Canada? For Timmy first. 2 million naira per month. Oh, wow. Okay. So, no. Okay. Chidi, 2 million naira, per month, aside allowances.
I know it's a yes or no question, but the reason why I answer this question the way I'm answering is because of my wife is on this call and she's going to kill me if I say another answer. So no, I'm not going to come back.
No. All right. No, but all right. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate having both of you on this session today, having to break down the nuances of actually traveling out and migrating. Most times it looks like if you can just get out of the border, and get to the other side, everything will work out fine. Or at least it can be worse than it is in Nigeria already, as most people think. But you, like Chidi said, you have to do a lot of research, you have to find out. So where exactly am I going to? You understand? Is it going to be better in this, especially because you're a lawyer, especially if you want to practice. So I have actually learned a lot from this session. Please, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat room. Does anybody have any questions?
So hello, thank you everybody for participating. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Said, what is Naira? Well, does anybody have?
Yeah. There are no questions.
Okay. Is everybody? Are we done now? Sorry.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so everybody, thank you very, very much for participating. I realize that this is our first time and we may not have been as perfect as you would have expected. So we're asking you that you forgive us and have patience with us. Thank you to all our participants. Thank you to Timmy. Thank you to Chidi. Thank you to everybody that participated today, to Jola. Thank you for being honest and being vulnerable with us. Thank you for being very open. I'm sure we've all learned a lot. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to everybody. This session will be available on YouTube at The Great Discourse, like the full session from beginning to end. Yesterday's session is already uploaded. This session will be uploaded latest tomorrow or next. I'll encourage you to follow it up, and we're looking to put an audio version out as well on a podcast channel, and we'll make sure that everybody gets access to it, so that we'll make sure that everybody has it in retrievable format. And also, I want to appreciate Borg Research, that's Borg.ray, and Bolaji for putting together this event. I want to appreciate Borg. I want to appreciate Obita podcasts for the work that they have put in so far. Thank you to Vincent Okonkwo. Thank you to Isaac. Thank you to Shore Fumi, and of course to Femina. Thank you for letting me disturb your life. Thank you for following me around. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at The Great Discourse. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on LinkedIn. We will be putting out successive sessions after now. We're trying as much as possible in this year to improve the earning of lawyers and improve their capacity as much as we can internationally. Lawyers in Nigeria particularly, but we're looking at an international market. So once again, thank you everybody for being part of this evaluation forms for all the participants so that we will get a sense of how we fared in this episode and so that we can improve our episodes going further so that you will learn more and you'll be better equipped. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's here that I sign out. My name is Zikora, and it's been a pleasure doing this. Let's do this sometime later. Bye.